What up, everybody? Good morning and a happy Wednesday to all of you. A big thanks for tuning in. DK Show up on the air, broadcasting from the TDS studios, Sports Talk studios. Appreciate you tuning in. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also online, stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. Got the app, download that. Download the Sports Talk app, take it on the go. Video streams also up and rolling. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, all those different places over there. But hopefully you're all off. If you're already up and at it and moving around here early this morning, hopefully you're up and at it and off to a fantastic start here. What do we got on a game plan? Let's jump right into it. Let's take a look at our game plan for us this morning. Big day because Packers return to practice later on today in preparation for their playoff matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's a big day in terms of, are we going to get any of the injured players back? Is Quay Walker going to be back? Is Evan Williams going to be back out on the practice field? So I don't want to put a whole lot of stock in day one of practice, but I don't know about the rest of you. I'm a little anxious. I'm hoping Quay and Evan are out there because, well, more healthy bodies, the better at this point in time. So, but we'll continue to talk some green and gold throughout this morning as we get set for that Sunday matchup between Packers and Eagles out here. So, plenty of Packers talk coming at you. I don't know about, I don't know if we have any of these listeners too, but somebody was asking me about this yesterday. And I know I've seen it on social media, but I feel like we see it almost every season, no matter what happens and such. But I really hope we don't have a majority. Like, is there anybody out there that really, 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 really believes that Matt LaFleur should be fired? I mean, there's somebody asked me about that yesterday, and I'm like, what? Are we really at that point? I mean, come on now. So, is there anybody that's listening that thinks Matt LaFleur should be fired? I hope not. But we'll talk some green and gold throughout this morning. Bucks are going to be back in action tonight. A little bit of a later tip, about 8:30. We know they never start on time, though, NBA games, that is. So it might be a little past 8:30. But they're going to be home against the San Antonio Spurs. Giannis got star power in this one. So, but we'll talk some hoops as well with the Bucks back at it tonight. College wise, we had Marquette picking up another victory last night. And if you're a college hoops fan, you probably saw Tennessee dropping their first game yesterday too. So speaking of college hoops, it's the WIAC action, so we know it's the Wednesday Saturday schedule, right? So Stouts men's and women's teams going to be taking on River Falls. Blue Gold's going to be taking on Oshkosh tonight too. So we'll talk some hoops this morning as we inch a little bit closer, at least for the Bucks, a little bit closer to the halfway mark of this regular season. Now, there was one report yesterday that so the whole Jimmy Butler drama out there. Apparently, according to a report out there, that the Bucks were told not to trade for Jimmy Butler, which I take that as meaning that Butler doesn't want to go there, that he doesn't want to be traded to there. So, yeah, this was from Kevin O'Connor. Kevin O'Connor saying the Milwaukee Bucks were told to, quote, back off regarding the idea of trading for Jimmy Butler. There's been a lot of chirping in the NBA circles about the future of Miami Heat veteran Jimmy Butler. On Tuesday morning, Chris Haynes had reported on social media that Memphis and a few other teams received word that Butler has no interest in being there. So Bucks were told to back off from Jimmy Leonard. Former Marquette dude doesn't want to go back to Milwaukee. So we'll talk some hoops. We got stock reports coming at you as well. Whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. You can play along with us and give us your picks by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912, or you can also comment on the video streams if you're watching us over there. So, but well, I want to talk a little Brewers too, because we do maybe have a little bit of a Woodruff update. So this was from Adam McCulvey from Brewers.com. It was part of his Brewers Beat newsletter over there. But Brandon Woodruff talking a little bit about his recovery at this point. But a couple of quotes out here. I'm being pretty candid with you, he said. I know we talked about it a little bit during the season, but in such a different place now than I was when we last saw each other in Milwaukee. So, giving you my honest opinion of where I'm at. So he went on to say, I just kind of looking through here out there. Yeah, we'll go through this coming up here in just a little bit because Brandon Woodruff is such an interesting, intriguing player for this team coming up because he's such an unknown. I mean, if we get vintage Brandon Woodruff, I mean, that makes a difference within the starting lineup. So, I mean, he says, quote, "Gosh, I feel good." So, he said, "At this time last year, I'm 3.5 months out of surgery, and that was miserable. If I made a wrong move either which way, it would almost break me down to my knees. Now, I know I'm technically still in rehab. I haven't faced a batter in 15 months, but gosh, do I feel good." So, talk a little Brandon Woodruff coming up here too, just because I know this has been an off season that has been fairly quiet for the Brewers and maybe for some Brewers fans too. But man, what a difference it would be to have Brandon Woodruff back in that starting lineup if we get vintage Brandon Woodruff in the starting lineup. It's still kind of an unknown. Can he go back to what he was? Can he be a starting pitcher? Is he going to be better suited, shorter stints coming out of the bullpen and such? But we'll talk a little Brewers. By the way, I know this was a couple days ago, but Jake Bauers did return to the Brewers minor league contract with a invitation to big league camp too. And I don't know if anybody's been kind of following along with some of the uh, off-season content when it comes to MLB Network and MLB.com and that, but they've been kind of coming out with their like top players positions at certain positions, and Garrett Mitchell made the list for top 10 center fielders right now. This was again, it's a feature on MLB Network and that, but fairly high on Garrett Mitchell, number 8 on center fielders right now, top 10 center fielders right now. Thought that was pretty interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, and remember too, he only played half a season, not even half a season last year. So interesting. I thought I was not expecting Garrett Mitchell to be in there, but getting some love. I like it. Julio Rodriguez was number 1, Jackson Merrill 2, Byron Buxton from the Twins was 3, Michael Harris from Atlanta 4, Mike Trout 6, Brandon Marsh, Mike Trout 5th, Brandon Marsh 6th, 7, and then number 8 was Garrett Mitchell. Rounding out, it was O'Neal Cruz and Luis Robert from the White Sox. So, all right, let's get things going. What else is on your mind here this morning? If you got something that you want to chat about, or you want to hit us up with, again, hit us up with a text or comment on the video streams over there. All right. Otherwise, we'll kind of open up with a little more green and gold chat as we get set for this playoff game. Just a few days away now. Packers will be back at practice to prepare for this matchup with the Eagles. Let's do a little bit of a vibe check. We're halfway through the week. We're making the turn on this week here. Let's do a little bit of a vibe check at this point. Like in terms of how you feeling about this Packers team heading into Philadelphia. Are you feeling confident? Are you feeling good? Are you like let me see who's practicing and not practicing? on the field today. If Quay and Evan are practicing and looking like they're going to play, maybe I'll feel better. But give me a vibe check. All right, give me a vibe check here. So let's take our first break and then the lead off as we get things rolling here this morning. Coming up after these quick words. Later on this week, we'll have a new episode of our new podcast, the 715 Green and Gold Tailgates, available wherever you get your podcasts, plus on YouTube because it's also video over there too. So not just audio, but it's also video over there. So we'll have a new one. We've got actually coming up tomorrow too. Our good buddy Rob Domofsky, who covers the Packers for ESPN, is going to be joining us about 8:30 tomorrow morning. So Rob will be a part of that as well. But it'll be good to catch up with Mr. Domofsky tomorrow morning as we head into this matchup with the Eagles. So vibe check. Where you at with this thing? Where you at leading into this game? You feeling confident? You feeling not so confident? Maybe waiting to see who practices tonight or later today. Where are you at on this thing? All right. Hit me up 715-830-1912 with the text or join up on the video streams over there too. So, but we got C-Bomb already chiming in saying vibe check. I'll be honest, not feeling good. It is extremely difficult to run on the Eagles, so that one was Jacobs. Minnesota proved we can't beat man coverage. Our best man coverage beater is out for the season now. In my opinion, the only way to have a chance is to utilize Musgrave and Kraft. LaFleur needs to highlight the tight ends and bring a package nobody has seen this year. I'm more scared of the Eagles than I am of the Lions or the Vikings. Hope my fears are unfounded and we dominate. We need the tight ends and the defense to win this game for us. Talked a little bit about it yesterday too. I think this is a game where, we touched on the man coverage portion of it yesterday, and Minnesota apparently, according to LaFleur and Love, after that game against Minnesota, they acknowledged that the Vikings, Brian Flores and company, played a little bit more man coverage than what they were expecting, and I think that's a direct relation to no Christian Watson in that, and the Packers struggled with it. They struggled to beat man coverage. Gosh, I'm getting flashbacks now of the McCarthy offense. What year would it have been like? 16? Whatever year it was. I feel like we were talking about it then where it was like there's no scheme and you're relying on guys to win your one-on-ones and such. And I'm like, boy, I'm having a little bit of a flashback here to that same conversation. And at that point, we were like, can we just scheme it a little bit more? Can we be creative? But that's not the style of offense that, well, not only McCarthy wanted to run, but as we found out too, that's not style that Aaron wanted to do as well. So this one would be a little bit different because you got more scheme and you're more motion and you're trying to create some confusion on the defense and such. But yeah, this is again where I think it's going to be a chess match between these coaches and these play callers. Kellen Moore going up against Jeff Halfley, Matt LaFleur, Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio, we're very familiar with him, whether it's been times with the 49ers or his time during Chicago and such. But I think a lot's going to be predicated too on what's the game plans heading into these things, and can LaFleur dial up something? Can he create? Can this offensive staff between LaFleur and Stenovich and company, can they create something that can catch the Eagles defense off guard a little bit? And I don't know how much of a factor Robert Saleh is going to be in this thing because, remember, Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach, but Matt LaFleur has brought him in to help out with the offensive side of things. So bringing in a defensive-minded coach to give a perspective on the offensive side, I'm curious to see how much, and we won't know really, but be curious to know how much of a input he would have, going in this thing, because I would imagine his role has got to be something similar, like, okay, this is the game plan, this is what I would do as a defensive coach, and how we should, where's the weaknesses of this defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, kind of going back and forth on this whole thing. So, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he's, again, we'll never know the true answer, how much input he would have on the offensive game plan heading into this heading into this game. But I we talked a little bit about it too yesterday. Tight ends. I think tight ends have to be a big factor in this game. Romeo Dobbs, I think, is having him back is going to definitely be a boost. But we praised the creativity of LaFleur and the offensive game plans in week 2 and week 3 when Jordan Love wasn't out there. And even though it was a run heavy and we knew it was going to be run heavy, they still had success running the football. So what can they do this week, with Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs? They still want to run the football, but what are different ways that maybe they can utilize that running game to create space, to pick up some positive yards, to win those downs? Because I think it's similar to going up against a Brian Flores defense or Minnesota's defense. You don't want to get into those 3rd and longs. You don't want to get into 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s against this Eagles team and this Vic Fangio defense. You want to keep yourself in manageable, short situations, especially when you get to 3rd down. So I think it's going to be crucial that they win on these early downs, that they win on 1st and 2nd down and continue to put themselves in manageable situations, especially if they are going to struggle throwing the ball down the field. If they're going to struggle, with the passing game and such. So that I'm curious to see how this chess match goes. And I mean, it's going to be a good test. It's going to be, maybe I'm putting a little too much stock in it, but I don't know. Jeremy says Packers win, no doubt in my mind. I don't know what Cubs are high and can only get higher when people get healthy. I'm not sure what the Cubs are high and can only get higher when people get healthy. Maybe confidence or vibes are high. Maybe that's what it's supposed to say. But Jeremy says Packers win, no doubt in my mind. Okay, Jeremy, I like the optimism there, man. I like it. The other part in this thing here too is going to be, we talk about the passing game, but something that's not really, or at least I haven't heard it being mentioned too often, is how much is that elbow injury going to affect Jordan Love in the passing game? How much feeling does he have? Is he 100%? Is he going to have all the feeling in his hands so there's no issues gripping the football and all that? I mean, I think we're talking so much about the Packers passing offense and the struggles that they have had for the last, I don't know, couple weeks or so. But now you factor in that Jordan Love just had his funny bone hit hard enough to where it was numb and still numb after the game, where I think he said he couldn't feel the pinky and the top side of his hand and such. I mean, anybody who grips a football, the pinky side of it there. So hopefully there's ideally no lingering effects on this thing and that he's 100% with that going in there. But, you got to factor that in, I would think, when you're talking about the passing game for this Packers offense. And now Jordan Love's hands, the elbow injury there. Is that going to factor it? Does it is it different, if he tries to throw it deeper and stretch the field compared to, short distance and such? I'd be curious, and I don't know if we will see it at practice, if any of the media members heading over to practice today, if that's going to be something that'll be noticeable, or if they're going to be able to see anything like that. Does he unleash a couple? Is there any side effects about with that elbow injury? Is he able to chuck it down the field? Wouldn't it be something Malik Willis had to come in and beat the Eagles down, considering the only reason we got him is due to the Eagles knocking Love out in the game, in the first game of the season? I hope we don't have to find that out, though. That's not a knock on Malik Willis either. That's not a knock on Malik Willis, but I hope we don't have to find that out to begin with. So, but no, got a couple more vibe checks here. Ben says vibe is meh. Guess I'm willing to see who practices and see if see if my vibe changes a little bit. Chris says vibe check. I'm pumped for the game, but reality is I'm not putting a whole lot of enthusiasm enthusiasm and not putting a whole lot of enthusiasm into the game. So, well, if you're pumped, you got to have some enthusiasm, right? Got to have some enthusiasm. Maybe you mean you're not confident in the Packers to get the W and such. But another vibe check coming in here. This one is from Matt. I'm positively optimistic. I'm hoping that the Packers use these last 2 weeks as fuel for the fire and go in motivated and play pissed off football. You never know how a team's gonna react. I know there's been a lot of talking about what was said in the locker room. Apparently, Matt LaFleur, and we talked about this on Monday. Matt LaFleur said that the guys had some strong words in the locker room and such, and you don't know what's going to be said. I don't know if it's a rallying cry. I mean, that's Sunday, and it's going to be a week later. Players, teams bounce back differently. It could be a catapult to the postseason. It could be nothing at this point. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into what was said in the locker room after that. I mean, I just want guys to go out there and do their job and play fundamentally sound football, players and coaches at this point. Because I still feel like I wouldn't be surprised either way whatever outcome happens in this game. If Green Bay wins it, I wouldn't be that surprised. If Eagles win it, I'm not surprised. I would not be surprised with either outcome in this game. I'm not full on confident. Like I'm not willing to hammer the table and say a guarantee for Green Bay or even a guarantee for Philadelphia. But this Green Bay team, I mean, we've seen them where they're like when they're on, they're a good team. They're a good team. But we've seen the ups and downs and the inconsistencies with this where again, I wouldn't be surprised either way. And it's still weird. Maybe weird's not the right word here, but what? Because I'm sure if it's a one and done, we're all going to be disappointed. We're all going to be disappointed that it's going to be a one and done. You know, into the postseason, it's over with. We're fans. We're going to be disappointed when your team's done. And a lot of us had high expectations going into this thing after last year. And we said, okay, you made the postseason. You won a game in the postseason. That timeline, those expectations have moved up maybe a little bit earlier. And if it's one and done this year, even though they won more games in the regular season, there's probably going to be, some fans that look at this as maybe of a failure of a season. I don't want to get to that point yet because they're still playing, but I mean, that's going to be the interesting conversation afterwards is let's say Green Bay loses on Sunday. Will fans look at it as a failure of a season, even though they won more games, but didn't advance as far in the postseason? Do they factor in that the division was tougher than expected in terms of Minnesota specifically over there? And you look at Green Bay is still, I mean, the you talk about their age, the youth of them. Elias Sports Bureau, according to them, Packers are the second youngest team to make the playoffs over the last 45 seasons. Now, we know the Packers are the youngest team this year, but they're the second youngest team to make the playoffs over the last 45 years behind last year's Packers team. So I know it's at a certain point, the youth and the inexperience starts to become an excuse and such. And that excuse, I think, is starting to it's not there yet. I think there is still something to the youth and to the inexperience and, compared to some of these other teams in that. But at a certain point that youth and the young of the team or the age of the team and the whole narrative of the youngest in the league and that at some point that can't be used as an excuse. That can't be used as a reason or whatever we want to call it if Green Bay falls just a little bit short. Well, they're fairly young yet and youngest team in the league. At some point that's got to go out the window. I mean, it's a cool narrative to say, okay, the last 2 years the Packers have made the playoffs and they're the two youngest teams in the last 45 years to ever make the playoffs. Cool. Great. That's a nice little side note. That's a cool little subtext here. But at some point, it's kind of like the fear the deer or the future is now. Remember when we had some of those with the Milwaukee Bucks? It's like, okay, that's cool at that moment. That's great. Yeah, rallying cry. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, move on. Enough's enough. Higher expectations. We want a little bit more than that. Stop using it as a reason. Stop using it as an excuse. A couple more texts here. We've got uh, Greg says vibes are about 50-50 right now. I think the closer I get to the game, I might lean more towards my heart than my head. But right now, it's about 50-50. Another texter here says no name. So texter says vibes are good right now. I am one of the few that feel confident in Green Bay going into Philadelphia and enacting a little revenge and using the last 2 weeks as momentum to pick up the W. All right, keep those texts coming. We got a quick break here. We'll already finish up the first hour. We got Hoops chat coming up a little bit later on. We got even some baseball Brewers chat lined up. Stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Got a texter asking, Dad, did you see Adrian Amos's Instagram story with him wearing Packers hats and zooming in on a picture of himself in the green and gold? Could that mean he's coming back to play this weekend? I saw that. I saw some people talking about it yesterday. I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't throw it out the window, but the thing is like I don't expect a whole lot, right? I mean, I maybe, or maybe he's just cheering on his former team and such. I don't know. I mean, I'm not putting a whole lot in there. And again, when he's if it is, I don't expect a whole lot. Maybe they want to bring in some more depth there. I'm not putting a whole lot of faith into a player coming in this week and being a big time contributor for the game of Sunday. And to be honest with you, if we are, I think that kind of tells you too that we're kind of in trouble at that point. That we're in a little bit of trouble if we're putting in a lot of faith of whoever potentially comes in this week. Just say if we're bringing in a guy that is only going to practice a couple times and we're like, oh, that's it. I think then we're in a little bit of trouble at that point. But I did see it. I did see it. So maybe a topic for tomorrow. Maybe we'll get to it. Yeah, we'll do it today. If you had to pick one player, the breakout player for this game on Sunday, breakout player for the green and gold. Just stay with the players here because I know we can make cases for coaches. We can make the case for LaFleur and the game plan. I mean, honestly, I'd probably pick that one too. We can make the case for Jeff Hafley and the defensive game plan. But if you had to pick a player, a breakout player for this game, like the guy that has to be a breakout player, or if you are confident, you're feeling good about Green Bay going in and picking up the win, the player that will help lead them to that is who or whom? Who do you think? Who's got to be that? We've had a couple people already mention the tight end plays, but if you got to pick one, and I'm going to hold you to one. I'm going to hold you to one because I want it to be a little difficult. Think about it for a little bit, and then hit me up with the text here, okay? Now I don't know if any of you are big into advanced stats or statistics or anything like that, but there's stuff all over the place. Whether it's Pro Football Focus, whether it's DVOAs and all that. There was one I saw from a former Pro Football Focus individual, Kevin Cole. Kevin Cole, maybe some of you, if you have the extra Twitter, you follow him on there. But, you've probably seen some of these graphs. Again, I wish I was good at math. I stink at math. Okay. So I don't quite understand all the numbers and values and all that. But I'm sure a lot of you have seen these different like graphs where it has these teams in different tiers and different corners and such. Well, this one is an NFL team tiering by adjusted offensive and defensive efficiencies. Again, how they come up with this stuff, you mathematicians out there, good on you, because dang it, I wish I was good at math growing up because maybe I could be one of these math people out there coming up with these advanced statistics. The reason I'm bringing this up, according to this graph from Kevin Cole, his schedule adjusted offensive and defensive team strengths heading into the playoffs. There's two groups of top tier teams. Elite offense, decent defense. So elite offense, decent defense. Ravens, Bills, Lions. Then there's the group of elite defense, good offense. So elite defense, good offense. Vikings, Eagles, and the Packers. Chiefs are not on there, according to Kevin Cole. They haven't played at a top tier level, according to him. And Texas, Rams, Steelers, the only third-tier teams to make the playoffs. But for crying out loud, when was the last time, if you are a believer in this stuff, I am a believer that I think I've used this quote and phrase many times, it's a tool part of the toolbox. It's not tell-all. It's not the tool that tells everything. It's not the Gerber multi-tool out there, but it maybe has something in there. But when was the last time something said Green Bay's defense is elite and the offense is good? I mean, for how many 20 years or so, we've talked about the elite offense and then maybe at times average defense, and that was like sometimes pushing it over there. But I thought it was kind of interesting to throw it out there. There's one stat, whatever analytics thing that gets thrown out there. Elite defense to a good offense. No, we made it. What we made it. We made it to an elite defense category. Been a while, but holy moly, we got there. We got there. What goes through your head when you think elite defense for Green Bay? Elite defense. Now, see, for me, I would have put it. I just from watching and not doing all these fancy math equations and formulas to try to figure it out. From what I'm looking, I probably wouldn't say elite. I'd probably say good, but elite, whew, that's something. That's something. Let's go through some players. Smuck says, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?" We've got another one here says, "Give me some Kraft mac and cheese." I like that one. Thank you, Eric. We've got Jordan Love. We got another Jordan Love. We've got another Tucker Kraft. We've got a Luke Musgrave. A lot of offensive players so far. Not necessarily a lot of defensive players, except for one person did say Edrin Cooper. And I'll expand it here. Give me a breakout player for the offense and the defensive side, because I think a guy that's got to have a game. I know we do our got to have a game guys on Fridays, but I'll tell you right now, my defensive player for that is going to be Edrin Cooper. I mean, that dude's got to have a game because he's going to be such a focal part, a pivotal player to help slow down Saquon Barkley and such. So, but keep them going. I like the Kraft mac and cheese one. Well played. Well played, sir. Well played indeed. Nice work, Eric. You get a tip of the cap already here this morning. So, all right, we'll get back to some more text coming up here in just a little bit here. Coming up next hour, we'll talk a little hoops wise. I saw Bobby Marks, NBA analyst Bobby Marks, again going back to the Jimmy Butler rumors and all that. Apparently, Bucks were told, not to trade for Jimmy Butler. I'm assuming that's coming from Butler's camp because I'm assuming that means Butler would not play for them. But this would be a potential trade scenario, according to Bobby Marks. And this was on NBA Today. So the Bucks would get Jimmy. They would have to send Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis to Miami. And then it'd have to be a 3-team deal. And then the Bucks would send Pat Connaughton to Detroit. And there's, another player, Clintman from Detroit is in here too, and he would go to Miami. The only issue and Bobby Marks says the Bucks are a quote team to watch for Jimmy Butler, even though apparently they were told not to. The only issue I would have with this, now Pat's minutes have been pretty much non-existent. That's kind of not important. And then Middleton, I know. Okay, to me, you're kind of like Middleton, Butler, whatever. The one concern or question I would have is Portis, though, because you move on from Portis, you don't really have your next big man. You don't have a backup big man or that six man that comes off the bench that can play that center role. Now I believe the NBA is more positionless than it has been in years. So I mean, maybe you can have a lineup of a Giannis playing the five and such. But I mean, if something happens to Brook, Bucks then would really have no backup big or really a plan that they can just, all right, Brook's out for a couple games or he's out, Bobby Portis goes in there. That would be my only concern. Now you can probably go somewhere and find a backup big in that, but the Portis one, getting rid of Portis in this would make me a little concerned because then you're talking about your depth, especially at that position. And really, I think Portis is more of a stretch four. And Portis, I think, was part of that draft class too. When we started to hear more about stretch fours, those power fours that play from the outside and can hit the 3-point shot. But you move on from him, you're going to have to find that other guy that can at least come in and play down low, specifically, a big that can maybe defend on the perimeter and down low too. So I get it with the Middleton one. I don't know if that would necessarily how Giannis would feel at that point, considering that's his BFF. I think you do have to factor. So it's easy for a lot of us, a lot of media people and all that to put these trade machines into focus and put something out there. And it takes care of the contracts and salaries and all that for you. But what they don't factor in is like, okay, is this going to piss off your superstar player? And it doesn't factor in vibes and chemistry. And, we don't factor that in there because, I mean, for crying out loud, we didn't, I love playing Madden just to make trades, just to draft and make trades. Didn't care about locker room stuff, but the real thing is like, yeah, you do that. And I don't know how Giannis would feel about Middleton being moved on. Fans and all of us like, okay, the guy is barely on the courts in the last couple of years. You're getting somebody a little bit maybe younger, maybe a little bit more healthier. Heck yeah. But I think the underlying factor here in this one would be how pissed off would Giannis be that Middleton moved on. So, all right. We got a couple more vibes. Evan, vibes, immaculate. I'm ready to get hurt again. If Zane and Evan can't go, I think Oladapo is going to have to be a breakout player after his good play last week. That's a good point, Evan. Oladapo actually had a very solid game. And again, if you're a Pro Football Focus believer, he had a top 5 Pro Football Focus grade for Packers defenders. So that's a good point out. That's a very good point. F says Rashawn Gary over there too. So Andy from Chippewa, Kraft needs to be Love's number 1 target. He has been the most consistent pass catcher this year, and I feel he has the potential to be the next Gronk. I know we have some good wideouts, but none have shown the consistency or the will that Kraft has shown. Get Kraft mac and cheese the ball. So
Andy has spoken.
Andy, I like that.
What does the next Gronk mean? How would you define that?
Next Gronk?
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski?
No, I know who Gronk is, but I mean like in terms of like traits and like if you think Gronk, what does that mean?
I guess player-wise, you talk about a big tight end who can block, who can bulldoze over people and such, and a little bit of a personality.
I was going to say, plus the social component where people just seem to like him, like that likability factor, like where you're kind of creating fans.
Maybe a goofball, but Kraft's pretty intense too because there was a few weeks ago, I think it was on AJ Dillon's podcast, how he trash talks.
Yeah.
He threatens to burn down opposing players' childhood homes.
He's going straight to the source.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So I've not heard that one before.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a favorite personality in the sports world right now? Because I
know I do, but now you're just putting me on the spot.
So I have a Wednesday wild card. We'll get to it. It's just kind of a little pop quiz because it's famous men in history, actually. But if you're going to look at famous men across sports, purely and only personality. Take their record, take their field play, take their court action, take their baseball diamond action, whatever it is, take the sports component out of it. Who's your favorite full-on sports personality?
So when you say personality, are they still playing? Could it be
Could be,
somebody
just
that's
could
like,
be a 100%. I like that guy.
gosh, I know there's some because I know I've said it before. I'd probably go Giannis actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like him with his
Yeah.
Oreos and his milk, and
Yeah.
he does, to me at least, have some level of authenticity to him that other
Mhm.
characters in the sports world don't. Because I think a lot of times, especially like in this generation with social media and stuff, players are also very much about creating a brand.
Mhm.
And so they manufacture this personality because they want to be this person. And, it doesn't always work. It sometimes works, but Giannis seems to just genuinely be that guy.
Yeah.
Nice family guy, respects his parents, talks about his Greek roots a lot, sits down and
Has
dunks Oreos,
fun. Yeah.
has funds, like to play. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I think he's got a lot going for him in that way.
Yep.
And that to me makes him good role model material
Mhm.
because that's an important component that we don't necessarily see in sports like we used to. It used to be that sports players were like role models.
Right.
And that isn't always the case now,
I agree.
even if they're famous.
Yep.
So, Wednesday wild card action here. Pop quiz, just some famous people in history. It's not difficult, don't worry. What singer is known as the king of rock and roll?
Elvis.
It's his birthday today.
By the way, okay, because we got shot clock now. There's a documentary on Netflix from a few weeks ago, the Elvis impersonator killer sort of thing.
Is it good?
It's decent. It's weird.
Is it?
I didn't know people in Tennessee or whatever were like all about being Elvis impersonators.
Well, I think it's a thing. Look at
Uh,
Vegas. People make entire careers out of it.
it's
That
kind of creepy.
Graceland is in
Yeah,
Memphis.
go check it out.
Oh, thanks for
Uh,
the tip.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning. It is a Making the Turn Wednesday. Stock reports will be due in about an hour. So if you want to play along with us, you can send us your stock reports. Hit us up on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line with a quick text, 715-830-1912. Or you can comment on the video streams too, if that works out for you. So whatever platform you want to use to send over your stock reports, go ahead and do so. We've got we'll talk some more hoops coming up here as well with the Bucks back in action tonight. It's going to be a little bit of a late tip, even though they are playing in Milwaukee, taking on the Spurs. So that's going to be 8:30 is the tip time, but we know the NBA never starts on time, so it'll probably be just a few minutes after that. Reminder, you can catch that game on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. We'll talk even a little baseball here as well. Got some quotes from Brandon Woodruff. How is his recovery going? He talked to Adam McCalvey from Brewers.com. So we'll go through that, and of course we'll get back to some more football talk as well as we get set for the postseason. Plus, don't forget tomorrow too is the first game of the college football playoff, Notre Dame and Penn State. So we got that to look forward to. Kind of, I think, flying under the radar a little bit. Somebody had sent me a message and asked if I watched any of the TGL last night. I did not. I'm a little disappointed. I missed out on it, but it seems like there was a lot of good reviews on it. The golf league, the Tiger thing over there. Luke, did you watch a little bit of it all? Did you see anybody talking about it last night?
I honestly didn't even know what the TGL was, if that was any indication.
Oh,
so that was pretty quiet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was like the indoor golf thing that you remember, like Tiger Woods is a part of and such, and they got teams and that. So yeah, that started up last night.
Okay, cool.
So I did not get to watch any of it, so I will have to go back and watch some. But yeah, I was kind of seeing some people on social media talking quite a bit about it. And apparently it big thumbs up.
Good.
Big thumbs up over there.
Good.
So anybody else watch it, you can send over your thoughts on it if you would care to do so. College hoops, we had Marquette picking up a win last night, their 14th win of the season over Georgetown. We also got WIAC action now that we are in conference play, back to the Wednesday, Saturdays. So if you there's a good bet that every Wednesday and Saturday there's going to be a hoops game over at Sonatag Center. So we got Blue Golds back in action tonight. Both men and women's going to be taking on Oshkosh. Tough game tonight. Men's going to be at Oshkosh. Women going to be hosting number 4 Oshkosh. Stout is also in action tonight. They're going to be taking on River Falls. So again, it's always going to be like a home and away too. So every Wednesday, Saturday, it's either going to be men or women going to be over at Sonatag. If you haven't checked out a game over there, go ahead and do so. But be a tough one tonight, but a good one here with the women's team riding a nice winning streak over there for the Blue Golds too. So.
By the way, I presume Jupiter Lynx is your favorite to go back to the golf league. I presume that's your favorite team already.
No.
No?
I'll be honest. I don't. I saw some of them over there, but I don't have a favorite team yet.
Not even though Tiger's on that team.
I don't like the name. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, you got.
I'm looking at the logos, like Boston Common Golf. Why is there a frog? Like what's that? You know, Jupiter Lynx is just a palm tree.
There's some reference. I don't know. It's probably, if you're down there, you know, and if you're up here, you're like, what?
I feel like these logos, and I apologize if somebody's listening that made these, which I doubt, but you never know. But I feel like these logos were made using artificial intelligence. They're very bleh.
Oh boy.
I mean, the only one I like maybe a little bit on there is the Bay Golf Club. But it's all it is trees. So I don't know. They just like blah.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Tiger actually was not a reason enough for you to root for a team.
No.
That's really saying something.
Yeah. I mean, individual. Yeah. I'll root for Tiger all the time.
Of course.
But, yeah. No, I'm going to have to try to watch. I know I've got Hulu, so I can go back and watch some of that stuff. So I'm curious. Pace of play, apparently people loved last night.
Yeah. So. No, and there's I found the explainer from Mark Schlabach on ESPN. Like that's actually and again, I'd heard just a little about it. Now that I'm reading more into it, yeah, it's it's quite interesting, and it's different enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, oh, here's another golf tournament. No, okay, this is intriguing.
Right. So yeah, I'll have to pay attention to it for sure. So
Pick your plunder.
exactly. So, all right. So we're going to talk about that. Remember, if anybody else has any thoughts on that, they can hit us up over there too. So, well, by the way, Happy New Year. Look, it's been a couple
I know.
weeks.
Wow,
So.
it was a long time ago. 3 weeks. Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well.
Mm-hmm. So have a good holiday break.
Did solid. Got through the 3-year-old Christmas. Definitely a more engaged Christmas this year, as is usually the case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was fun. Absolutely, and survived the holiday season, and now it's back to brown grass and waiting through winter for some of the snow. How was yours? I know you've already probably told the people, but how was yours?
It was good. It was good. A little too short, but it was good.
Yeah,
so
it's okay.
Back at her. So
it's okay.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to some hoops talk with the Jimmy Butler stuff out there, we had a couple people message saying no please to Jimmy Butler, which you've gone through it being a T-Wolves fan yourself. So, but I know Bobby Marks had a trade proposal out there too, but apparently the Bucks were told, don't plan on trading for Jimmy Butler and such. What would you tell Bucks fans, Lucas, you being a T-Wolves fan, of your experience with Jimmy Butler?
Probably the initial high could be enough to get the Bucks deep into the playoffs. The low going down forward is going to be probably some of the biggest actual drama, not, does Giannis want out projection sort of, like actual legit drama involving players that Bucks fans have ever, that you don't know it. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've obviously had plenty of Bucks drama involving coaches and such, but you don't know. That was weird. And we've seen enough weird with Butler over time. The Bucks have usually been a fairly drama-free team. I think drama would mess up the chemistry. Ultimately, it would put a cap on what the Bucks can do. Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, is not going to get the Bucks an NBA championship. He would probably, like I said, probably get them closer in the short term. And if it's like a year thing, cool. Hired gun, great. After that, no, don't.
Mm-hmm.
No.
If we use Bobby Marks' trade proposal, the issue that I think I would have on there is, you've got Bobby Portis on there, which if you move on from him, you don't have a backup big at that point. And the NBA is kind of positionless at this point anyways. But if something does happen to Brook Lopez, then you're kind of, standing around with your hands up. Chris Middleton is a part of that, which I think the fans would be okay with, but I think it would piss off Giannis since that's his BFF over there too. The Pat Connaughton one, I think that's his minutes are already cut and gone anyway, so that's no big loss over there.
Right.
But I mean, how much, if you're the Bucks, you at least have to go to Giannis and talk to him about this if they're serious about it, right?
Of course. He's kind of the pseudo co-general manager, as we've discovered a fair amount over the past 3 to 4 years. He'd have to want to play with him. And I'm more concerned that Butler would take more shots than Damian Lillard. And is Dame going to be happy with that?
Well, remember Dame wanted to go to Miami too before he got traded to the Bucks. So I think he would be.
That's true.
He'd be open to that.
That's true. So that's one where my concern is more broad of, would this eventually lead to a problem? Okay, so then in that case, maybe I'm more assured that it would not blow up immediately. But then there's also the difference of the teams, the makeup of the teams. Dame Lillard would probably be, even with guys like Bam and Tyler Hero, he would have been the number 2 guy in the Heat. He'd be the number 3 guy with the Bucks, even with an aging Damian Lillard. He's still probably a very strong number 3, almost a 2A. I don't know if everything spreads around, everyone ultimately is happy enough, and that's where I worry that you have just enough lack of chemistry that, again, puts a cap on what the team can do. Is the biggest question with all of this is, does this make you better than the Boston Celtics in the 2024-2025 season?
I think if we talk about it straight from a basketball perspective and not his personality and take all the drama that he provides and all that, the thing that would intrigue me with him, Giannis, and Dame on the court is obviously Dame on the perimeter on the outside, but Jimmy Butler does most of his damage in the lane, that mid-range game there. And we've seen it how many times, when he drives, if you watch your Heat games against the Bucks, he drives, you got Bam cutting to the hoop. That would provide some intrigue for me because I mean Giannis would be the guy I think that benefits from a Jimmy Butler drive into the lane and using that mid-range game of his. And then you've got Dame parked out on the outside, hitting his 35, 40 footers at this point. So if we take away the personality aspect and the drama that Butler provides, I'm intrigued with the potential of those three because they're all three very different players, right? They bring something different to the table. And Jimmy Butler, I mean, you look at his numbers, he's not a 30 points per game guy. He's like 19, 18, I think he averages somewhere around there. So he's not a big time scorer. But the other part in this too, when does Jimmy Butler made his name and made his money? It's always been the playoffs. And where the Bucks struggled the last couple of years due to injuries.
Yeah.
It's been playoffs. It's been playoff Jimmy. And that's why the Heat have made those deep runs. So how much you factor with that too?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking this year would be if you're John Horst, etc. If you think Jimmy Butler could be good enough to get past this year's Celtics, to kind of go back to what I was saying before, provided everyone's on board, if Lillard is still good with him, if Giannis wants him, I guess you could. Now the other thing is you're probably, even though you might be sending out older players, you've got definitely an old team that's very close to the end of the run for a lot of these guys, or getting to or at least the end of dominance. Like I wonder if we're going to see that with Giannis not that long from now. He's not there yet. Obviously, he's near his peak at this point. But when does that start to happen? Unless he changes his game and adjusts and becomes Giannis 2.0 or whatever we're at 3.0 now. So yeah, I worry about the health. I worry about his age. I mean, what you bring in an older player, he gets injured. Jimmy Butler will miss 6 to 8 weeks. He should return midway through the first round of the playoffs. Oh, great.
Well, that's Chris Middleton in a nutshell, though, too. So
that's true. Is it a wash?
Mhm.
If it's Chris Middleton that gets traded out, yeah. So if it's really like a year thing, though you wouldn't be keeping him for just a year, then there's also, of course, the whole second apron thing, which I know that's what Marks is addressing. It's much tougher to make trades now in the NBA. I don't know. I still say no. I say be wary of what you're going to get, but you're convincing me a little more that it would work. So I don't think it would be like a disaster kind of move, but they got to get everything just right.
All right. Tell you what, we got to take a quick break. We're going to talk a little green and gold coming up here. We got Joey D joining us. So quick break. Keep your texts coming, though. 715-830-1912. We'll be back after these quick words. Maybe a peak alert to lower down the energy and the heat, but the heat is rising now in the studio here, so we got you covered in the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. Joe, it's been a couple weeks with you too. How are you doing? You having a good New Year so far?
You know what? It was a great holiday. Great couple of weeks. Spent a lot of time with family. Did a lot of traveling, but it was really good. It was really good. And you, sir?
It was good. It was good. Spent it, I mean, just with Hudson and family the whole time. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome. I just want to jump in. I heard you and Luke talking.
Mm-hmm.
There is no doubt in my mind this makes the Bucks a better team.
Mm-hmm.
Period. 100%. Get the deal done.
Mm-hmm.
I have zero doubt. Period. End of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So matter of fact, I think it's more likely it does get done than doesn't.
Ooh, I like that. And if he's right, everybody's got to buy you beers at Courthouse. So.
You know what? I got tabs all over Eau Claire, man. I got to tell you, I think I owe several people several drinks. So yeah, it's. I think I'm going to be at the Alibi later on today. So,
nice.
So I can buy. I can buy somebody a drink there.
Yeah, you can.
There you go.
Well, playoff time, man.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs.
Okay, Jim. First of all, it just seems like yesterday we were talking about week 1, and I was in my backyard with a fire watching this game, preparing for Packers Eagles.
We had Friday Night Lights. I was riding back from Friday Night Lights with Eau Claire Memorial, catching the game on the way home on the team bus.
Yeah.
It went like that.
I know, right? I don't know if it was a late Thanksgiving that transitioned to Christmas right away, but it's like, here we are. All right. So, general thoughts on this matchup. Where do you want to begin with?
Well, first of all, big news out of Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni trying to play coy, but the fact that they cut Ian Book, Jalen Hurts is playing. Jalen Hurts is playing. So, and I believe the spread went from 2.5 or 3.5 already to 5.5. So Vegas sees that as well. So look, it's an interesting matchup. Is it a winnable game for Green Bay? Absolutely. I think the onus of responsibility in this game is going to have to be on Jeff Hafley, because you've got Jalen Hurts, and it was interesting. I was looking back at some of Hurts's game and some of the Philadelphia games earlier in the year, and I thought Carolina did a nice job in that game defensively. And of course, Dom Capers, defensive senior assistant for Carolina, they talked about the fact that you want to make Jalen Hurts play quarterback, and you want to minimize what Saquon Barkley does and make Jalen Hurts play quarterback. So the template's there, and it's really going to be a key if Jeff Hafley can bring a scheme to this game and keep Philadelphia guessing. And keep them playing behind the sticks, because Philadelphia loves playing in front of the sticks. They love playing on time, 2nd and 6s, 2nd and 5s, those types of things. And so if Jeff Hafley can do enough, and again, do the Packers have the personnel to match up? That's the question, because now you've got Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine on the outside, not Jair Alexander. Not what you had when you were playing in Brazil. And so that's going to be a big key. But I think the onus of responsibility, if Green Bay is going to win this game, it's because of Jeff Hafley's scheme.
I'll ask you the question I asked yesterday to people. So Saquon Barkley versus the 7th-ranked run defense, Green Bay. Which concerns you more, that matchup or the Packers' passing offense against the number 1 passing defense?
The Packers' passing offense has concerned me for weeks now. It just seems that I don't know. Jordan Love talked about it a few weeks ago, that guys got to start winning one-on-one matchups, and the Packers are seeing a lot of man coverage right now, and that was interesting for Jordan Love to come out to say that. That's the first time I've heard him go a little Aaron Rodgers-esque.
So it was after the Minnesota game, I think.
Yeah, that's right. It was Minnesota. And they said they did not expect the man coverage that they got. And Jordan Love talked about the fact that we've got to get guys winning one-on-one matchups. And so I think that Packer passing attack is what's concerning me much more than Green Bay's rush defense against Saquon Barkley. So and of course, Christian Watson being out doesn't help this thing. Green Bay has talked about possibly going out and getting a free agent, and they've got to do it by 3:00 today. If they want this player to be eligible for the playoffs, there's some options out there, but really this is going to come down to Green Bay's passing attack. It's going to come down to Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft. That's who it's going to come down to. And it doesn't seem like Jordan Love the last few weeks is throwing on rhythm, is throwing on time and in rhythm. And I think that's a big concern.
At his passing charts yesterday on Next Gen Stats, because it's like Jordan Love has a tale of two different seasons this year. It's similar to last year, where, the first half we were talking about, it's his interceptions. He's more like Brett Favre than Aaron Rodgers. And then the second half, okay, no interceptions, but it almost feels like, is he being a little too safe, a little too complacent, maybe not taking as many risks right now? Is that part of the issue, you think, with this passing offense, that they're not taking as many risks down it, or he's not taking as many risks throwing the ball down the field?
It's interesting. I almost think Matt LaFleur needs to go and take some pages out of his Malik Willis playbook. All right. So early on in the starts that Malik Willis had earlier on in the year, the passing game was predicated on getting the ball out quick and minimizing the reads. And so getting Malik Willis feeling comfortable back there and almost looking at a half the field. And it seems to me that Jordan Love is either A, apprehensive to throw as far as taking shots, or B, just doesn't see it right now. And so maybe you've got to start him off a little bit of tempo, maybe to start off the game offensively. Maybe you go to a muddle, not necessarily no huddle, but get him into a tempo, get him into where he's got one read, make the throw. It's a 6-yard gain. Let's go. And so I think it's a little bit where you've got to pull that now out of Jordan to get him into a rhythm early on in the game, so that he can feel more comfortable taking shots downfield. Can Green Bay take shots downfield, and do they have the players still, even without Christian Watson? 100%. 100%. I look at that Dallas game last year. Guys were so open.
Romeo Doubs had a day that day.
It's so open. And we go back to the concepts that Matt LaFleur brings to the table. And whether or not it's LaFleur coaching scared, whether or not it's Jordan Love playing apprehensive, something's not clicking because guys aren't open right now. And maybe it is, simply put, Matt LaFleur is getting out-schemed and out-coached. But he needs to develop pass patterns and plays to get guys open, to get Jordan Love into that group. Now, again, you look at the Dallas game last year. You controlled that first drive. You come down, you score a touchdown. You get an early interception. Now it's 14-0. The game complexion changed at that point. If this comes out to be 14-0 Green Bay wins the football game. And so end of discussion. But yeah, I think, and look, let's go back to the Bear game. Matt LaFleur right now, there's something not right with what he's seeing. And look, Matt LaFleur's seat is not hot. That was ridiculous this week. Yeah, that Matt LaFleur is going to be fired and his seat is hot. His seat is not hot. Does he need to improve as a coach? 100%. And so I think he needs to start doing some self-scouting going into this game and saying, am I too predictable? Are my tendencies coming out right now? And do I have to go counterintuitive to that? And so this is a great week to go to really do that self-scouting. This is where Robert Saleh can give him some of that insight to say, look, I'm seeing this. I don't know what you're seeing. And so I think Matt LaFleur needs to bring his A game as well.
I think that's a great point over there, too. I was talking about Robert Saleh a little bit earlier, and that's, because he's a defensive coach, but he's helping him out with the offensive side of things and trying to give him that perspective over there, too. So, looking at this matchup, too, Edgerrin Cooper, Saquon Barkley, is that the key matchup on this defensive for the Packers defensive side?
No doubt. Look, Edgerrin Cooper, if I'm not mistaken, played 8 snaps in the first game against the Eagles. So
if he doesn't have 99 in this game,
this needs, unless he's injured, he needs to be on the field every play. He needs to be on the field every play. Look, Green Bay has found their linebacker. They have found the guy now. And so there's no question that the matchup is so much better for Green Bay. And Quay Walker it sounds like will be healthy to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker out there. I'm not saying Quay Walker's an all-pro, but when you look at the athleticism
Bingo. Yeah.
that he brings to the table,
Mm-hmm.
it flips the table on that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love this matchup there much more. I don't like the secondary matchup
Mm-hmm.
compared to what they had to start the year.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. I don't know if he's going to be healthy to come back. LaFleur's a little bit more coy on that too, but week 1, Evan Williams played 0 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
If he can get on that field and be a big-time contributor, that changes it. But yeah, the Jair loss is huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. I don't want anybody like trying to downplay. Well, he never. It's huge. It's I think it's more eye-opening too. And you know what? Credit to Hafley for this. Eric Stokes is in a doghouse right now. I mean, he didn't get his first snaps until the 4th quarter against the Bears or something.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Yeah, that is. He had such promise his rookie year,
Mm-hmm.
and then the injuries, and I just think he's a shell of the player he used to be. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he's confident back there, and when you don't have confidence, you lose technique, and so I think he's really flailing and struggling out there.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm going to go back to that last play against the Bears, not
Mm-hmm.
the field goal, but the play before that.
Yeah,
Carrington Valentine. Was it a horrible scheme on that one? And Matt LaFleur has said that there should have been a robber in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is not what they wanted there. But Carrington Valentine, he was out on an island, and the Packers trusted him. So that said something to me. You gotta glean something out of that and say, okay, they trust him on an island with the game on the line, and they put him out there on a one-on-one matchup. So that says
Mm-hmm.
something that, all right, they're really seeing the development there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's any question that he has taken that next step. And that's actually why I tweeted today what I did. So in the 2011 playoffs, I think the guy that really, really, really carried that team. Now, again, you go to the Packer video and everybody says, finally the keys to the car to Aaron Rodgers. I get all of that.
Right.
But Tramon Williams in that 2011 playoff run
Mm-hmm.
was such a big factor. Now, also Sam Shields started coming into his own as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the James Starks run that year.
Yeah, you had some guys coming from nowhere. So do the Packers have some guys, whether it be a healthy Evan Williams?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not coming from nowhere, and Tramon Williams didn't come from nowhere, but he stepped up his game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so are there guys potentially that could do that? You said Edgerrin Cooper, Evan Williams, Carrington Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some guys that are now in that first or second year, that you're no longer rookies, you're no longer a second-year guy. You're on to that next step. Once you make the playoffs, you consider that if you're a rookie, it's now your second season.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a second-year player, it's now your third season. So the Packers have some potential guys to take that next leap. It's whether or not they do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So looking at, by the way, going back to the Bears game really quick, do you get a sense like they didn't know exactly how to play that at times? Like, should we go hard? Should we not go hard? I mean, it was just kind of weird. Like, I didn't know if they actually had a full-on game plan, to be honest with you. It was a stupid game. It was a stupid game.
It was a stupid game.
It was stupid in terms of, were you there, by the way?
No,
Did you? Okay.
I did not go to this one.
It was just, I didn't quite understand what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Obviously the stupid mistake snap, but then it's like, okay, are they actually trying to win this? It seems like they are, but they kept going back. I don't know. It was hard to gauge that game.
I will say this. Packer fans, let Rich Bisaccia off the hook, please, because that was a punt left call.
Mm-hmm.
You follow the call. You don't follow the returner.
Mm-hmm.
So the Packer fans, I don't want it Bisaccia's head. That was a punt left call. And so if that's the call and Whelan punts it left, you go left.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go after the returner. And so that was just, I mean, you hit it on the head. Dumb. And I do put this one on LaFleur.
Yeah.
I just think he didn't know how to prep for this game or handle it. He said, they went back to the Detroit game a few years ago where he didn't play anybody and then they were flat.
Mm-hmm.
But he really, and I'll say he half-assed this.
Mm-hmm.
And you either do it or don't.
Mm-hmm.
Either pull him out or go for it. Anyone halfway, and you can't do that.
I agree. Really quick before we get to some predictions and such. So regular season wise, Green Bay finished 5th in total defense.
Yep.
6th in scoring, which are the highest numbers, same numbers as 2010.
I knew you were going to go there.
So Jeff Hafley, first year, it still feels like there's been some, I think the biggest issue that at least the fans that have chimed in on this has been pressure, pass rush, that sort of stuff. But when you look at the numbers in that, did Jeff Hafley do more? Because for the longest time, it was like, just give Aaron Rodgers a top 10, top 15 defense, top 5, top 6 right here. Yet it doesn't feel like we're fully satisfied. How would you rate what Jeff Hafley did this year?
So first of all, I'm going to give you a quote, and I love this quote. And it's for business and it's for sports. Statistics are like bikinis. What they reveal is suggestive, but what they conceal is vital. Okay, so yes, the bottom line is this is a better defense than Green Bay had under Joe Barry. It is. Now, individual players have not stepped up their game in this new scheme. I think Kenny Clark, Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary to a lesser extent. I think these are the guys that have had trouble adapting to this defense. So is it a better defense? Yes. The numbers say, and just the eye test says, this is a better defense. Now again, Xavier McKinney, big addition. We talked to Edgerrin Cooper, what he's been able to do. Even Keyshawn Nixon, in my opinion, has stepped up his game. And so you've got a balance of players who have not taken that next step, and you have the other players that have. And so with it, better defense, yes. It remains to be seen. If Jeff Hafley comes out and does a great job against the Eagles, then I think you say, yeah, okay. If he comes out and the Packers just get throttled on Sunday and they can't stop him, then you're probably scratching your head and saying once again, I'm not saying you're going to fire the guy, but you're probably have some question marks at that point. So better defense. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Prediction, but also finish this sentence before I let you go. Packers win if they don't score more. Don't say that one.
What, they score more?
Yeah.
No. If they get up to a 2-score lead early. So if they are up by 2 scores,
because you're taking Saquon essentially kind of out of that equation a little bit.
Once you're 2 scores, and I prefer 14-0 like they did against Dallas rather than 10-0. 6-0 doesn't count.
Right.
6-0 doesn't count. But if you get 2 scores up, and now you're playing in front, if you are 2 scores up after the first quarter, the Packers win the game. There you go.
All right. So who wins it? I could see this where Green. I wouldn't be surprised with either result, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. I agree. Look, I was coming in today, driving in, saying, you know what? I do think Green Bay can win this football game. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was. It was like the devil and the angel on my shoulder this morning. I don't know, but I think what it was like the nightmare that was the Bear game, and how flat this team looked. Look. You're going to get a rusty Jalen Hurts. I don't care what anybody says. He hasn't played for 2 weeks. You're going to get a rusty Jalen Hurts. So beginning of the game is going to be key. I'm going to say Green Bay pulls the upset.
What? All right, we're going to put you on the board.
You know what?
A W there.
It's been a while since I've actually felt confident in a big game like this. And
does that usually work out for you? Because I'm one of those, like, if I feel uber confident, it's bad news.
You know what? That's
my superstition.
This has been an interesting year because early on in some of those bigger games, and Green Bay ended up losing, I was pretty confident. And then I started saying, well, they haven't proven to me that they can do this, so I'm just going to say no. You prove it to me until I pick them. I'm going to go with Green Bay. I think the fact that Hurts has not played for a couple of weeks, I think sometimes taking a step back for a young team like they did against the Bears can actually help them. And, sometimes you do have to take 1 step back to go 2 steps forward. I'm going to say Green Bay wins this game.
I like it.
And I'm going to say they win it on a last-second field goal.
Can we re-sign Brandon McManus right now?
Right now, man. I mean, I don't even know why they're waiting.
Right.
The one question mark going into the season has turned into the one absolute truth right now that you've got. And so, I'm going to say it. McManus wins it with a field goal.
I like it, man. Well, hopefully next time you're in there, we'll have a victory scotch. If
you know Monday, what? Yeah,
so.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Yep. Victory Scotch Monday if they win.
Yeah,
so.
because we had 2 Wednesdays where we had the holidays, so we couldn't do the show.
Right.
And then, of course, now we had a loss.
My superstitious thing.
Yeah.
2 weeks you missed, 2 losses. You're back on. You know where I'm going with this.
I totally know where you're going. I smell what you're stepping in, Captain.
I could go a different route on that one, but we won't. So, Joe, appreciate the time as always, man.
Captain, always love it, brother.
We got to take a quick break. We'll finish up the second hour after these quick words. Let's bring Luke back in here, our resident, one of our many. Why do we have so many Vikings fans on this program, by the way? You, Brandon, for crying out loud. Jeez Louise.
It's a lot.
It's annoying at times, man. Just saying. So, by the way, I wanted to ask you really quick. What did you think of Jay Glazer's report on Sunday when he said teams were going to be, it's not going to happen. But
Exactly.
when teams were like, hey, we're going to try to call the Vikings and make a proposal to acquire Kevin O'Connell.
That's cool.
Would that not be the Vikings thing to do too? Like what? Like I want it to happen. First of all, I'm a Packers fan, so yes, I want it to. But just to see the reaction, like, could you make a dumber decision at that point?
Yeah, no, you couldn't. Like, cool. You know, like while we're at it, on behalf of the Twins and Brewers, I think we would like to say that Twins and Brewers are interested in trading for Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge and Mookie Betts, and we're looking forward to the Yankees and Dodgers beginning discussions with teams. That it means the same. Like, I guess they're hoping, which you got to do your due diligence to use the cliche.
Why not make a phone call? Right.
I mean, I guess just in case, could you do the Godfather offer? Kind of try to, maybe there's reverse Herschel Walker vibes out there, perhaps. I don't know.
What did the Raiders get for John Gruden? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, what was
Was it a first round or 2 first rounds?
Let's see if I can find the John Gruden trade specifically. It's gonna take a little bit. I've noticed this computer is really slowed down just of late. It was the 2002 and 2003 first round Buccaneers picks, 2002, 2004 second round picks, and $8 million.
Well, that's actually a decent that's a big package.
It is.
Yeah. Wow.
It would okay, now I this is where you insert the what has Kevin O'Connell won yet? Well, he's 3 years thus far, the third of which has not yet had any playoff games thus far. We know, like we've talked about this before, like especially with regard to the NFC North. Would you say he is without ranking, he's a top 10 NFL quarterback or coach right now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
So, and I think you could probably say that about the NFC North, the three that are for sure in place. Campbell, I think is. LaFleur, I know you and Joe were talking about, there's reasons to question, but would you rather have LaFleur than a lot of folks right now?
I'd still put him top 10. I'd probably go not top 5, but top 10.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anytime you get into that position, well, if you're another team, you ponder that. It's because of the free agency. That's why there's the question. If he were locked up for 6 years, no, this would not be happening. I think the presumption is that with the Wilfs, you also are wondering, would the Wilfs underpay potentially? They're not. They don't have a track record of underpaying what they need to do. They're kind of like a middle of the road NFL ownership group. They're not stingy. They're not Mike Browns. They're also not Jerry Joneses or Dan Snyder's spending in the wrong ways and for weird reasons. They kind of take care of business. Like what you did. They're kind of who you'd want to have as an NFL owner. They kind of stay out of the way and basically get stuff done. And it's up to the team to do the job.
Well, it's kind of similar to Green Bay in essence, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. Like you don't really have to think about which that's the point. You shouldn't, as a fan, you shouldn't be thinking about the owner. Because in most cases, it's going to be bad. In rare cases, it's going to be good. The best is to really not think about it at all.
Right. You either know the owner because of, the family's owned the team forever. Mara's, or the Rooneys, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Or you know them for really bad reasons.
Shad Khan. And I'd throw in another one there besides the two that we've already mentioned. And then
formerly Washington's owner, Snyder, and,
Mr. Snyder.
Yeah. We should call Woody Johnson Ambassador Johnson too.
Oh yeah,
did you read that thing?
He has rocketed up. I mean, he was already top 5 worst. He may have. I think Tepper's gone down the list a little bit. Robert Tepper's. Robert. Oh my gosh. David Tepper.
Yeah. It's helped that Bryce Young's really bounced back and played nice. So.
That's okay. Winning does kind of cure stuff, but also Tepper's stayed out of the way. He's not throwing drinks and doing weird, whatever that was. He's not doing that. That doesn't mean that the Panthers suddenly are a great organization. There's a lot more that goes involved with that. But yeah, Bidwell, I know it's been quiet, but we know. Johnson, the Bears, not great organizations, and a lot of that has to do with ownership. The Vikings they built a great stadium by, most accounts, critically acclaimed stadium. By NFL standards, critically acclaimed. Really good headquarters. Like they're doing a lot of competent things. So the competent thing to do with a really good coach is to keep him. And they're not. I can't say with 100% certainty because you never know. Fluky things do happen. But it kind of reminds me of the Jordan Love question last offseason. Like, oh, maybe he's gonna go. You knew how it was going to end. And there was a little bit of drama. There was a moment where you're like, well, he does seem to be a little upset, but it took care of itself. And I think the same thing, I'm very confident the same thing is going to happen. Kevin O'Connell and also Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. I know he's not being talked about as much, but his stock has risen up as well. His picks have started to look better. His acquisitions have looked much better. They're going to be around for a while. So... But I've noticed, too, we're getting more in the way of, like, trade talks in general. There was the McCarthy request. Well, who was the other one that was asked about yesterday? I thought I saw teams are inquiring
Chicago.
about.
Yeah, Chicago said they wouldn't rule out trading for a coach. So I don't know if that was the whole McCarthy thing there, too. But, yeah.
So is this
First of all, I don't know if I would trade for McCarthy. I'm not saying anything negative about McCarthy, but I don't think I'd send a draft pick for Mike McCarthy.
Longtime Burley, Wisconsin football coach is going to coach in Illinois.
Well, and the thing, what does that tell you? Again, not a complete knock on McCarthy, but what tell you that if Chicago feels like they have to send a first-round pick to get Mike McCarthy to coach their team?
Yeah.
Is it that unattractive that nobody wants to go over there when you've got Caleb Williams and you got these other players? Or is it the decision makers like you are that much of an idiot to do that
Mike McCarthy? Really?
I
no, that doesn't strike me right.
No.
No, I don't. They can do better, quite honestly. Vrabel is probably the catch of the offseason.
Yeah. It's New England.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
the
Yeah,
pseudo. Hey, they got Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton interviews out of the way in the same day.
cool.
If that doesn't tell you how much of a joke that process is, good Lord.
Oh gosh, yeah. And there was a Simmons pod where they were talking. Oh, this is like 3 weeks ago, and he was talking about what ultimately led to. They were talking to Seth Simmons was talking to Wickersham about Belichick going to North Carolina. Went, of course, as you would expect from Bill Simmons. They went deeper into Patriots coaching stuff, and a little bit of a perplexion on why was Vrabel not the obvious guy. It was, Gerard Mayo was the anointed successor. How many times do these anointed successors not work out across sports?
Well, and especially like when you're replacing somebody like Bill Belichick, right?
They'll be the guy that replaces the replacement.
Right. Not all the time does it work out.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes it may, but look at Hubie Davis right now in North Carolina.
Yeah,
that ain't working out right now with replacing Roy Williams,
and that's with a national championship appearance,
right?
And a defeat of Duke in the Final Four,
right?
That's legendary, and still,
but it's going down now.
Right.
Shire will see. I mean, that's a huge bar at Duke to try to even do anything,
right?
A tenth of what Krzyzewski's done, but they're still a highly ranked team,
right?
Program in the country. So,
right. So, by the way, very not to go all Patriots talk here because we're not exactly, Boston WBZ here, but Booger McFarland, I know he has some interesting takes, but he had an interesting point on
Boogermobile.
Yeah, I know. There you go. But he had an interesting take on NFL primetime over the weekend. He didn't get an opportunity, he got a chance. And that wasn't entirely fair to Mayo. That if you have an opportunity, you can build on what you're bringing in. You're going to make mistakes, but go from there. Whereas a chance is, all right, go in, see what happens. If not, sorry, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily fair to him. Now, that doesn't also mean that Gerard Mayo is going to turn into a great NFL coach. I don't know, maybe.
It almost just kind of reminds me of the Ray Rhodes era in Green Bay where Ron Wolf was like one and done, and he always said you could just feel like a sense wasn't going in the right direction.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's similar.
Was it fair to Mayo, or was Mayo not a great?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's young enough; he's got a lot ahead of him, and maybe he does end up becoming a decent coach at some point. I do wonder about the Patriots organization, though, with the Crafts. That's fallen down the power rankings in the past few years, so I don't know. But all this is to say, there was concern about what Vrabel's personality, who Vrabel would want to have in.
Well, that's the thing. Remember who's under the front office right now in New England? Elliot Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith, former Packer player personnel.
Would they? Wow, incredible how Packers East really moved, literally as far east as is possible. Thinking latitudinally is Miami.
But I don't think they got a whole lot of say in the coaching. If Kraft wants Vrabel, it's going to be Vrabel, right?
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, so how much Vrabel influence is Vrabel going to have? That means maybe Elliot Wolf's on the outs.
Probably so. But Vrabel is such a good coach. You want that. How concerned are you that the Bears are going to get Mike Vrabel?
I'm not concerned.
Okay.
No.
I mean, that would be my concern with the Bears. And you never know with the up and coming offensive assistant. I'm changing my perspective on these coaching searches, especially seeing what we're seeing in the NFC North. 3 coaches that are not offensive play caller types. They're coaches. They lead their team. Campbell, LaFleur, O'Connell, 3 different ways, but they got their players behind them. They know how to manage a team. It's not just, here are 15 awesome plays, we're going to call these.
I think and I hope nobody from the Bears is listening to me, because I think this is the smart way to go about it with your coaching hire. I think they need to get an offensive-minded head coach in there. Because I heard this, and I will actually give credit to Mike Florio for making this point, because I thought it was a very smart point. And I don't say that very often, so you might want to record that. But as he made the point, you get an offensive-minded head coach with your young quarterback where the sky's the limit, because if you go defensive-minded head coach and you bring in an offensive coordinator, you have success. What happens? That offensive coordinator gets a head coaching job elsewhere.
Of course.
And you're starting over. Whereas you have that offensive-minded head coach, they're there. They're still there working with that quarterback. Sean Payton, right? With Drew Brees. I'm like, you're right. That's exactly right at that point. Now, it's not to diminish the value of defensive-minded head coaches or anything, but I think at this point for Chicago, you've invested in a quarterback and you've invested in Roma Dunze and such. You're at the point you got to get that quarterback right. You got to make sure that that's right. And that's why I think they should, I hope they don't, they should focus on an offensive-minded head coach.
Trying to ponder what kind of trade. This is like getting into Bill Simmons trade machine fantasy territory. What trade could the Bears and Vikings do for Kevin O'Connell?
Oh, God.
Like, what would that entail? It probably would entail Caleb Williams. Ironically, like you'd want O'Connell to work with Williams, but the Vikings would be like, yeah, you give us Williams. And like 20 other draft picks.
Yeah.
There's no way that's good. I mean, that's a 0% chance. That might be negative 5% chance of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, O'Connell's going to be a Vikings coach for a while.
Yeah. Flores might not be your defensive
and
for a while. I'm glad to see that he is getting interviews.
He should be.
Just because I want him out of the division.
I understand. And I'm a little bummed out, but it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You knew it.
Yeah. There is an interesting connection because the Jets apparently with him, but also one of the personnel members from Minnesota, Grigson, Ryan Gregerson. So apparently those two have grown close together too. So interesting. Yeah. All right. 2 in, 1 more to go. Stock reports coming up next.
Effort with the Eau Claire Police Department. Their Holiday Plushie fundraiser raised over $1,500. You maybe saw this on socials, and you can find a link online. Catch up on those headlines when you fetch the story at 715newsroom.com. And are you punching back into the same job today? Well, the number of people quitting is at a low level, right, Brian?
New Labor Department data from November shows just over 3 million people quit their jobs in November, the lowest number since the summer of 2020. The department says the number of job openings is also increasing, and the number of employment claims is at their lowest level in the last 8 months. I'm Brian Shook.
You know, the other day, Casper pulled me and he said, Morgs, watch me take these shots. I'm going to get it. Like Mighty Medford Glory Days type stuff. He was really kind of feeling like he wanted to shake the rust off and get back to the courts. He put up some shots, all right, but
the lowest number since the summer of 2020.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
We're off to another cold start this morning with temperatures staying a few degrees below average near 20 later on today. That is going to come with mostly sunny skies. For tonight, besides a few passing clouds, will stay mostly clear. Lows dip to around 10. Otherwise, tomorrow mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 20s before a storm system brings a few snow showers tomorrow night with less than an inch of accumulation expected. On 13 First Alert, meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
Need more data so you can stream your Jam mix on loop? Switch to Straight Talk and get real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, available at Walmart or straighttalk.com.
From the hardwood and the diamond to the gridiron and the course, Dan's got you covered with his trademark blend of sports passion and knowledge. He has the sports info you want and the sports therapy you need. So get your game face on, people.
Let's go get some bell, huh? Put up or shut up, sir. We gotta get started from the jump. Play big. Let's go. That's what legends made, man. It's showtime. Welcome to the big leagues. Let's go.
Because it's the Dan Casper Show.
Final hour on this Wednesday morning, making the turn Wednesday. A big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. Radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM online. Stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. You've got your Google and Alexa home devices, the app. Download it, take it on the go. Shout out to all of you on the video streams in the hundreds here this morning. We got Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube right now. As we mentioned, stock reports coming up here in just a second. A couple texts to catch up on. Evan asks, what did the Broncos have to give up to give Sean Payton? I had to Google it quick, but it was like a first-round pick and then a second-round pick. But then the Saints also sent over a third-round pick, too. So another texter, John, says, has Josh McCown received any interest from teams? I'm not sure if he's ready to be a head coach, but definitely ready to be a coordinator. Brandon and I were actually talking about that on Friday a little bit. I threw his name out there. And remember, Texans interviewed him a couple years ago for a head coaching job.
Yeah.
But the Jets did put in a request to interview him for a head coaching job just recently.
It'll probably happen pretty soon here.
Yeah. So that's because I was making a point too. Like, and that's not a knock on Kevin O'Connell because he's been getting a lot of love and praise and credit for Sam Darnold. But, you know, the quarterback's coaches always kind of get forgotten in that too. Mm-hmm. And Josh McCown, I think you got to give a lot of credit for what he's done with Sam Darnold.
Usually the person who's involved with the same position who has a coach above them that is also really good at that position will fly under the radar. Mm-hmm. And this is the classic example of that.
Because you look at Detroit, you know, the reemergence of Jared Goff, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, Ben Johnson, absolutely. Do you know who the quarterback coach is over there? I do.
Off the top of my head, I do not.
It is one Mark Burnell.
Wow.
Yeah. Mark Burnell. The 49ers. I think I was talking about it last year. 49ers quarterback coach, you know, with the emergence of Brock Purdy. Do you want to know who their quarterback's coach is?
Was probably remember, but who was it?
Ryan Greasy.
Yeah.
You know, former quarterbacks being quarterbacks coaches. Who would have thunk?
And I can't imagine they're placeholders. They have to have some say in this. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now the track record does not then suggest that Josh McCown, because of that, is going to get a head coaching job. But yeah, I think a coordinator step up, very much could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was, I think he got 2 interviews with the Texans. That's when they were like going back, like they had I can't remember the Ravens guy they hired as a head coach after 1 year done. Lovie Smith, 1 year done. And I think both those cycles they interviewed Josh McCown for the head coaching job.
I was like, really, Josh McCown that fast? Mm-hmm. It seems like, it's a playing favorites thing. But then they went the Ryan's route, which by most accounts seems to have been the right choice.
Yeah. But his stock is rising, we can say.
Yes. Yeah. I do wonder, like, there's going to be that one coach this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Is Josh McCown going to be how did he get the Jets job? Just insert one team or the Raiders or something like that.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be that one guy that nobody kind of maybe you heard about or heard a little bit about, but you were surprised they actually got hired this cycle.
Yep. Always happens.
You know, like the Panthers head coach, maybe.
Yeah.
From last year, coming over from Tampa Bay.
And some of them work out. Dave Canales, it's one season, so it's still pretty early, but it looks like it's working out. And Sometimes it's Joe Judge. So we don't really know how that's going to go.
Yeah, Joe Judge era.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the poster child for disaster picks.
Even Matt LaFleur was I mean, there was a lot of talk about him, but there was a little bit,
It's a little bit of a surprise, yeah.
Maybe, I mean, Kevin O'Connell was, 1 year as offense coordinator too, but didn't call plays.
There was skepticism. I remember, okay, I think maybe this is going to work. And
took him over Harbaugh. Didn't meet Harbaugh's demands.
Hey, so far Harbaugh and O'Connell have worked out both. I was thinking of that the other day, like, gosh, could have had Harbaugh. Look at how quickly he turned him around. How about we got O'Connell and look at how he's doing? Like both probably would have been okay. Sometimes you have that too. Both options could have worked.
It's like the trade that works out for both teams.
Kind of, so far in a weird way. Yeah.
All right, time for some stock reports. We'll start off with you. Whose stock is rising?
I'll say right now, John Hines of the Wild. I know he's like in the odds. I was listening to the Worst Seats in the House podcast with it's Michael Russo from The Athletic and also Anthony LaPanta, the voice of the Wild on TV. I was listening to their latest edition last night. They pointed out how Hines is like number 2 in the Coach of the Year odds at this point, best as you can tell. This is a team that Kirill Kaprizov's been out for a while, and he was almost on pace to be maybe a Hart Trophy winner, which is the MVP of the NHL. He goes out. They've had a ton of other injuries. They should be a wreck. They've won, I think, 6 of 7 without Kaprizov. It's almost Ewing territory here, but the play of this team, the coaching of Hines since he took over a little over a calendar year ago, because he took over midway through last year, it's been wonderful. And I know NHL coaches can go back and forth pretty quickly. You can be Stanley Cup winner or Stanley Cup runner-up and fired within like 5 months. We've seen that so many times. But Hines has done a good job managing and coaching this team. If it wasn't for the Capitals having such a mammoth turnaround, I think Hines would easily be the favorite, but he might still win it. They're in a good spot, even with a lot of obstacles. And I mean, it's going to be a rough conference. I don't know that the Wild are going to get past the first round yet again, but given their situation, they're in a pretty good spot, and a lot of that has to do with John Hines.
Yeah. My stock riser, I'm going to go with Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. I thought he probably should have got a little bit more attention before that Minnesota game, defensive side of the ball for the Lions. But then after the Sunday night game there, starting to get a little bit more attention. Yes, he's gotten head coaching interviews the last couple of years and such, but factoring in all the different injuries to lose Aiden Hutchinson and all these other defensive players, to really, I mean, yes, they maybe skipped a little bit of a beat here, allowing a little bit more points here and there, but the job they did Sunday too, fantastic job from him, and I think that's going to lead to a head coaching job for him too.
Agreed.
So, stock riser, Aaron Glenn.
Okay.
Stock faller.
I'll say the Miami Dolphins writ large, and Mike McDaniel more specifically. Did they peak already?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting not so great vibes off of that. I know a lot of it's Tyreek Hill, and a lot of it is not having Tua Tagovailoa, but we saw how the season went. Like, hey, didn't you scheme for another option besides Tagovailoa if he was injured? It's still not quite sinking. I don't know what their plan is if some of these folks aren't at either available or on the team, et cetera, going forward. And I don't know if McDaniel is going to stick around, whether by that, I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to be allowed to stick around. I could see the Dolphins firing him at some point. I mean, he's still probably one of the most likable coaches in the league. But that performance, there's been a lot lacking this year. Understanding all the stuff that's been going on that he did not control. There's a fair amount that he did control. So I'm saying the Dolphins overall, where I'm not sure that they're going to now challenge the Bills going forward. But specifically McDaniel, in 2 years, we might be wondering about his next assistant coach job.
Interesting. Yeah. Now you got Tyreek that wants out apparently. So
that's weird. Like back and forth. Like, no, he wants out. No, he didn't say it. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. I don't know. I'd rather not have to question it back and forth. It's a better situation.
It's that word you use, peak. That's I think that's a good one.
Yeah,
and it's going to be worth monitoring. I think next year for sure with that Dolphins team.
I know their DVOA tanked their record. It's not that much worse, but look under the hood. It something worsened this year,
and that's where. So we've got a sample size of this here, and not to go on a whole Dolphins dissect
your
or anything
NFC,
like that.
Your AFC East breakdown.
Yeah. So Mike McDaniel, obviously part of the group of Shanahan and LaFleur and McVay and all those guys. This is what I will say. McDaniel, when he came in, that offense with the Dolphins, it was lighting the world on fire, right? The one knock I think we can probably say right now with him is I don't think he can adjust to a backup quarterback very well in terms of game planning and scheming. Because we've seen plenty of that this year, right?
Yep.
And the thing is, too, was it his first year when they went to playoffs and they had Skylar Thompson, I think, starting at quarterback? And they put up a bunch of points, though, in that game.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it's like we're watching the 49ers against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy not able to throw. Like that game against it. I watched that Jets game just because I didn't know if it was Aaron's last game. And I'm sitting there like, what are we doing here when you're supposed to win? And it was like you're scared to play your quarterback. Like, let him go out there. Whereas we've seen LaFleur obviously adjust with Malik Willis. We've seen Kyle Shanahan use like 500 different quarterbacks over there, for crying out loud. I would say that's a knock I have on Mike McDaniel right now is like, can he adjust to a backup quarterback? Can he adjust his game plan? Is he willing to be a little bit more open, or is he just like that? Like, no, handcuffing it so much.
I mean, unless they were so particular for a Tagovailoa offense that they knew going in, we're kind of have a one-shot deal here. If he goes down, we're screwed for a while. And then maybe McDaniel,
which is saying a lot because this is a guy who's you're wondering if he's how many hits away.
Right. That's his health has been an issue for a while, not just concussions. Overall, he didn't seem like the most durable quarterback. More so now, obviously. I am curious what McDaniel would do if he had a different regular main quarterback you knew was going to be a solid guy who's going to be around for a while. I'm trying to think of insert quarterback, and I'm probably going to pick the wrong guy. So just imagine, like, what if like Baker Mayfield? I know he wouldn't, but what if Baker Mayfield suddenly showed up? Maybe then they're in great shape. I don't know. Like, do they adapt differently? I don't know the answer to that. But again, you see certain coaches seem to know what to do. LaFleur, as we've seen with backup quarterbacks, the Packers are, for backup quarterback standards, pretty seamless. But you're not seeing that in Miami. And that might go to the head coach. It might. We don't know for sure. But gosh, this season overall, not just the Jets game, overall, right? It didn't look that good without Tua.
Right. Exactly. My stock faller, speaking of which, I'm going with the 49ers in this one because another new defensive coordinator coming over to San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan is turning into Sean Payton in the latter years of New Orleans, where he's had a new defensive coordinator every single year. Remember the Rex Ryan era? Not Rex Ryan. The other Ryan.
Joe Ryan?
No, the long-haired Ryan.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Oh gosh, see, that's been that long. What's his name?
Rob.
Rob, thank you.
That's right.
Yeah, the Rob Ryan era, and then all those different ones over there. Like every year, it was a new defensive coordinator.
Yep.
So I know everybody's thinking Robert Saleh. There's actually some decent defensive coordinators available, out there. But got that. They got to make a decision on Brock Purdy. They got aging people with a lot of contracts. This is gonna be an interesting offseason, I think, for the 49ers. Coming up here, some big time decisions. And this will really show if John Lynch is a really good general manager or not. But I got my doubts.
It'll be an interesting transition because they built the team pretty well. And they are one of the most competitive teams in the NFC. I think you could, based on their performance in conference championship games, Super Bowl appearances, if we're talking about if you had to choose one team to define an era, Obviously, for the AFC, it's the Chiefs. Really, for almost the last decade. Not quite, but it's approaching a decade. For the NFC, I think the 49ers are that team. They've been the most consistent overall. How age and injury and contracts. Okay, I mean, I think you'd rather have Lynch than have other general managers.
And he has done a better job, I think, than what a lot of people expected when it was first announced. Like, huh?
Right.
It's like, oh, that means Kyle Shanahan is actually running the show.
As an example, Trent Baalke, former 49er guy, he somehow survived Jacksonville.
How does he have this voodoo magic over people?
I don't know. Like, maybe he's that awesome to work with. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll just throw it a shot. If Ben Johnson says he wants to come down and be your coach, but he won't work with Trent Baalke, you're going to stick with Trent Baalke over Ben Johnson?
I would not be shocked if the Jaguars did that.
I know, but that's why I'm just saying how ridiculous that is. I don't get that.
They love themselves some Trent Baalke.
Jeez.
49ers fans are like, we're glad how this turned out, regardless of what's happening here in January of 2025. They are very happy with going to Lynch. I mean, I'm sure you could find someone who's not. The vast majority are. Now, how do you actually interesting that we bring this up about the Niners and that you mention how Lynch is going to prove himself on this. The San Francisco 49ers of the 1980s and 1990s, the dynasty era, probably next to the Patriots of the Belichick era, are the best example of a team that reworked itself, reimaged itself consistently to stay competitive. And mind you, the Niners are doing this pre-free agency. They didn't really have to do as much because you could keep your players longer, but those teams were wildly different. You get below the top of like Montana and Rice, Roger Craig and a Ronnie Lott, etc.
Tom Rantham, come on now.
Right.
Got to mention him in Techno Bowl. So
Yes. This is a good one. I'm a little
always threw passes to Tom Rantham.
Tina Turner. It really confused me when Tina Turner was big and Keena Turner was big. I was like, what?
I actually thought you said Tina Turner at first.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
See that? What do you think I was thinking when I was 7 back in 1985? And I keep hearing about Keena Turner. I'm like, wait, but she had a hit. What with the 40? Huh? That's the thing though. Look at the lineups. That's the thing with the Niners. They figured out, okay, when do we cut bait with this person? How do we transition out of this? Do we have a down year? Okay, how do we build it back up? And they did. From 1981 to really to 1980 to 1998, that last year, the TO game. But that was the run, 18 years. And then there were a couple down ones, like 82 is actually not good. There's like one other season. They figured it out. Does this current Niners group that, of course, is not one like that one did, but do they figure out a way to transition to maintain excellence, or do they phase back into a down period like aughts era 49ers, something like that, one of the really so mediocre times? I don't know, or the mid-teens and they weren't that great, post Kaepernick, pre John Lynch, if you want to label the eras. It'll be an interesting watch.
Well, I mean, the big question they got to answer is Brock Purdy.
Yep. We're back to that. That was such an annoying topic. Is he good? Is he not? Is he good? Is he not? Well, now I think that's a fair question.
Yeah.
I think it was more hot take. It's just for fun, but it's legitimate right now.
Is he worth $60 million a year?
I don't know. At first blush, no. But then who's your other guy? I don't know. If you're a Packers fan, you're probably like, I hope they screw this up because they're the kryptonite. Are the Niners the kryptonite for the Packers right now? Today, I mean, it used to be some certain other teams, but right now,
because I think, we were still, even though Green Bay beat them, they were still like, just don't let San Francisco in the playoffs because we don't want to go to San Francisco, sort of thing.
Yeah,
right. There was still that narrative out there. I think, honestly, I'll tell you who I think the kryptonite is for Green Bay until they actually start to beat them. Detroit.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years since we've beaten them.
Thing is, you don't realize it until you get a bit of a track record, and then you can look back and go, "Oh, yeah, I think that's the right answer." right now.
Hate saying that, but
it's true.
'Cause
And we may get another opportunity to see how this goes in the next few weeks.
yeah, they had last year's Thanksgiving game, which was, a great one. But I mean, you go back to knocking them out in that final game, Aaron Rodgers' final game as a Packer. I don't know. I think it's I'd probably lean a little more Detroit.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
I mean, Detroit's also good right now, so there are a lot of teams that don't want to play them. But
well, apparently the records you look at, it's just the NFC North in general for Green Bay this year is the kryptonite. So
yeah, right.
They're literally one kick away from being 0-6 in the division.
Are they the only playoff team that's ever been 1-5 in their division?
I have no idea, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Someone was asking that question on one of the platforms, and I wasn't sure if they were being facetious or if they're like, really, is this the first?
Yeah. I don't know.
And yet, by the way, in case you're curious, I literally have it up right now. I've been reading through it. The final DVOA rankings. Green Bay, number 3.
You're kidding. They're that high?
Baltimore's 1. Finish it the final for the season. Baltimore's 1, Detroit 2, Green Bay 3. Philadelphia's 5.
Wow.
And where is the weighted DVOA? Because they were making a point about like the Rams right now are above the Vikings in weighted. Right now in weighted DVOA, Green Bay is 5th. Right between Detroit and Buffalo. Philadelphia is number 2 in weighted. And they adjust for week 18, understanding that weird stuff happens. But Green Bay's up there. But then again, Detroit's right next to him and Philly's above him.
Interesting.
So,
very interesting.
Factor that going forward. Aaron Schatz did make an interesting point too. The most recent, whatever this means, the most recent Super Bowl winners, broadly speaking, usually end the season overall about in 3rd to 5th.
Just don't. You don't need to get my,
just saying.
Just
no. Saying.
Don't.
I don't want that to happen. Come on. I don't want to be down 14 titles to none. I'm hoping that breaks this year, but
where's Minnesota on that thing?
Overall, they finished 7th.
Okay, so according to that theory, they won't win it this year either. So
literally by that. But in weighted DVOA, they are the 4th worst of the playoff teams, ahead of Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, and Houston.
Really?
Yeah.
So they're not that high on them?
Weighted. So weighted means is factored towards the end of the season. So like Baltimore's at 46%, Philly's 36.4%, Green Bay's 30 as an example, Minnesota's at 9.4.
Okay.
I mean, that there's probably going to be more of a factor for the Vikings with week 18, given that everyone was trying hard and we saw what happened. But weird stuff happens too. So just because those numbers are those numbers, do not take that to the bank either.
But you threw it out there.
But I did.
You threw it out there now.
But numbers are numbers too. That's data.
God.
Just saying, there's a chance.
No, there's always a chance. There's always a chance.
Well, I could say that to you as a Packers fan. Buffalo's number 4. Imagine telling a Bills fan that. Like, hey, right now you're in position where the Bills would win a Super Bowl.
I feel better about the Bills' chances this year than any other year.
Yeah. They're my pick right now in the AFC.
They're
broadly.
They're mine too. Part of it is I just don't want the Chiefs again. They're in the Patriots category for me now, where I'm done. I'm sick. I'm done. Move on. I like Andy Reid. I like him a lot, but I'm done.
Do you need a year off from the Chiefs and then we can enjoy them again? Is it one of those things?
They need to come back down to earth a little bit now too. So, which is rich coming from me because I've never really experienced a long stretch of like awful football, and I understand that. So,
and they're not going to have awful football for a long time to come. It won't happen.
I don't want to experience it. So I saw Robert Mays, who used to, I think, write for The Athletic and Sports Illustrated.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw his tweets. Let me bring it up here. But he was answering something about the Packers, I think. Let me bring it up here. Somebody had tweeted. What was the question actually here? Let me bring it up. So somebody. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So somebody had tweeted, or he said, the Bears are currently staring at a reality where 3 of the 10 best coaching staffs, teams, setups in the NFL are in their division, something we've talked about. Those things can change as brain drain happens, etc. But it's time to get their blank together, or this is about to even get uglier for a while. Somebody had responded to him saying, not sure I'd put Matt LaFleur's staff up there at this point. Just watched him get outcoached by Thomas Brown, which follows up Brian Flores eating his lunch during a huge primetime showdown. Seems he's starting to get figured out by the league, and we'll see if he can make adjustments, to which he responded, I want modern Packer fans to experience one season without a Hall of Fame quarterback or a top 6 play caller offensive architect. One, not out of spite, but to know how the other side actually feels.
Fair point.
Yeah, so I get it. I agree with him. I don't want to, though. That's the thing. I don't want to.
Again, y'all don't remember when it was Lindy Infante and Randy Wright, to use one of numerous examples. And I'm sure older Packers fans that are like about my age and older, they're silently nodding at home. Or
Well,
in
and
their
I
car
feel
right
like
now.
some people use it as a badge of honor and that. I don't want to use it as a badge. I don't know. Good. I don't want to go through that.
We went through the 70s and 80s. Oh, yeah, gosh, that is a cliche at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's also, but that's the example, because since the 70s and 80s, it's actually been pretty good. So I get it. But hey, sometimes organizations stay good for a very, very, very long time. And maybe that's what we're going to see with the Packers. There's no rule that says that they have to suddenly be bad. No, if they're competent, they can figure stuff out. Like what I was saying earlier with the 49ers, and to a degree, the Patriots. They were competent organizations. They figured out how to stay successful for well over a decade. The Chiefs are kind of doing that right now. There's nothing that says, well, now you have to be bad for a few years. The league is designed to have churn. Yes, good. But if you're smart, you can ride the wave.
Mm-hmm.
And those teams do that. And the Packers, I think, are an organization that does that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now they are. They weren't in the 70s and 80s. That was not the same organization. They're a much better organization today.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more after these few words.
Limit the use of items that are powered by electricity between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. The cost of electricity on the wholesale market is projected to be highest during these hours. Today is a peak alert day. Limit electric use between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. Your Touchstone Energy Partner Cooperatives thank you for helping keep energy affordable.
We're here for you.
I said, is there anything I can do? They explained that their dog was at the emergency vet, and I said, I'm really sorry. If there's anything we can do, come inside and we'll get you some coffee or some hot chocolate. My first instinct was, what can I do to help? And I'm glad that even just asking, I was able to help. I'm so glad she's okay. Look at those eyes. Everyone's like a family here, so I think I would do the same thing for anyone that works here or anyone that came in.
We are Quick Trip. Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. The Army National Guard responds to disasters such as wildfires and floods. They protect us with missile defense, cybersecurity, and civilian support teams for chemical, biological, and radiological hazards. Be there for your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Greater Wisconsin RV Expo is coming to you. Join us at your local Camping World January 10th to the 12th to shop special RV Expo pricing on the best selection of new and used RVs in Wisconsin. Tour brand new 2025 RVs starting at less than $5 a day. Enter to win a new RV and enjoy some free food on Saturday. Plus, we'll beat any competitor deal by $500 or you get $1,000. Don't miss the Greater Wisconsin RV Expo at your local Camping World, January 10th to the 12th. Learn more at campingworld.com/Wisconsin.
Cars today are built to last, but how they look is up to you, and that's where Maaco comes in. They specialize in cosmetic repairs. Let's say it's affordable paint jobs to fixing those annoying dents and dings. Maybe your car's paint is faded, or you've been meaning to fix that scrape from the grocery store parking lot. Whatever it is, Mako has you covered. Now, here's the best part. Stop by your local Mako, free estimate, and you're going to find out how easy it is to refresh your ride. With more Americans keeping their cars longer, now's the time to protect your investment and keep it looking sharp for years. And you can do so with the great folks at Mako. At Mako, they are proud to be a trusted partner for drivers across the country. Whether it's a fresh coat of paint for your car or fixing up everyday dents and dings, Mako is here to keep your car looking its best. Get started, visit your local Mako today, get the free estimate, and see how easy it is to bring new life to your ride. Better get Mako.
Youth teams, volunteer coaches, and officials, we want to recognize your passion and your love for sports. Nominate a team or individual today by visiting sportstalk1051.com.
Continuing our football chat here this morning. So let me ask you this, Lucas. Do you share similar feelings to one of our good buddy Brandon that, as he said Friday, the one team he did want to face was the Rams? Well, that's who you're facing on the road now.
Yeah. I was mostly concerned about the Buccaneers, but the Rams aren't like, oh, cool. I was all ready to predict a Tampa Bay victory over Minnesota.
Why? Why were you more worried about Tampa Bay?
I don't know. I'd like that felt like the Baker Mayfield 40-point game. You're like, oh gosh, this is happening. Okay, yeah, we're done. Which I guess if you're gonna lance the excitement of this Viking season, well, get it out of if it's going to happen, get it out of the way early. Let's not go to the conference championship game, have another heartbreaker. Let's just get it out of the way now. But against the Rams, yeah, well the Rams, like I was noting, they are higher in weighted DVOA right now. They have been playing better than the Vikings of late. I guess the concern might be the offensive approach. What was Brandon's official take on that? Or was it just like a sense of like, I don't want it?
I think it's just the general sense, like, I mean, you're looking at that offense with the Rams, and let's point out one thing too. That Rams defense is actually playing pretty solid too. A couple of rookies have been playing really well over there too. But I think it's just a sense of traveling on the road and going up against the Rams offense there probably worries some people.
Yeah.
So, but to be fair, the passing offense hasn't been, I think ever since that Buffalo game, it hasn't really been lighting it off out of this world after that Buffalo game.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily expect that the Rams are suddenly going to start putting up like I was saying, 40 points in this instance. By the way, they finished, this is my last reference here, but they finished 17th overall, Minnesota 7th overall. So yeah, they've been trending a lot better very lately.
Who is, not to change it
No,
here,
that's
but
okay. Go ahead.
who is, you can't pick the 1 or the 2 seeds in this, okay? Both for each conference here. Who is the team 3 through 7 that could be the team that goes to the Super Bowl? So you can't pick the Chiefs, you can't pick the Lions, you can't pick the Eagles, and you can't pick the Bills.
Well,
one from each conference.
I'll start with the NFC based on like previously I had said Eagles, Lions, Packers, Vikings were the obvious ones. I'm based on 3 through 7 in the NFC. If I had to choose one to go to the Super Bowl, this is not biased. Vikings right now are still the best of that group, the way that they're playing. Packers would be second, probably Buccaneers third, Rams fourth, Washington fifth. I think, but Washington and the Rams, I could be convinced either way, fourth, fifth in that particular ranking. to kind of tie it back to the Rams, but then to go to this point, I'm gonna give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt to Sam Darnold that he had his aberration game in a very high profile situation, which also means that this next game being higher profile is going to make the
because this is Darnold's first playoff game, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, the judgment's going to be all the easier because it's a very high profile game, high stakes game. That'll, I guess, help the Vikings brass make up their minds. But I think he will be better. The Rams have a good defense. I think they can find holes there. And overall, when they're playing well enough, they can still get to the Super Bowl. Whereas the other teams, I mean, they're all fairly close. They're not a definitive favorite. AFC. So we're talking
Ravens,
Steelers,
Texans, Chargers, Broncos.
If I had to choose one, I mean the Broncos would be like the hot pick right now, I guess, if you're trying to go like the one that has the longest odds, but you could see maybe going on a wild run. If the NFL were like other leagues, like say baseball, or I know the NHL's been a little bit more chalkish in the past 2-3 years, but if it was like maybe the last couple decades of the NHL and especially baseball, the Broncos would be my pick. Totally. But given that it's the NFL and you get a little bit more of the higher seeds getting through, Ravens.
That was an easy one.
And well, because their track record of late isn't that good when they're supposedly good.
To follow up on that then, who needs a win more this weekend from a head coaching perspective? Mike Tomlin? And I know he's won a Super Bowl, but lately, Steelers playoffs, we know the issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Harbaugh? Matt LaFleur? Kevin O'Connell? Sean Payton? Jim Harbaugh? Which head coach needs a win more? Nick Sirianni? Because last year, but last year there was like, is he going to be back or not? And then he was told he had to get these two new coordinators. Now, they've done a fantastic, but what if they go one and done?
If it's a matter of could you be fired after this, it's probably Sirianni. There's enough else going on there that if the Packers let's say they trounce him, that might be it for Sirianni. Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think anyone gets fired because of an outcome here. I think Peyton's probably the safest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this point, they're in gravy territory right now. And it almost doesn't matter what happens. The Bills could beat them 50-0, and I don't think that would really make a difference at this point. It'd be like, okay, they were way ahead of schedule. Move on to next year.
What if the Steelers get trounced in the playoff? Because they have not finished the season off on a good note.
Nope.
Yeah. And last year, there was all the talk about Tomlin and such. I don't think he gets fired. I don't think any of these coaches get fired. But does that narrative, that talk, like, is it, get louder, like, okay, is it just going to be a mutual parting at some point, this upcoming? Because I think if they get trounced again, they're back to square one with the quarterback position, I think.
Yeah, but then that goes to higher personnel, too. Who's bringing in these guys, too? That if Tomlin were co-GM, or the GM, yeah. But he's
also in charge of his offensive coordinators, too.
And that's been an issue, too. Tomlin was the other one where I was hearing about, like, what if teams wanted to trade for Tomlin?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because that's the thing. If Tomlin became available, think Mike Vrabel's number one on the list right now? Tomlin would jump to number one if he were available. And you can throw in whatever flaws he has, and they're there, but they're not that great compared to the assets he brings in. You'd want if Matt LaFleur stepped down after the season and Mike Tomlin were available, would you want Mike Tomlin as a Packer head coach?
I'm pausing there for a minute because this is not a knock on Mike Tomlin, but we've got, because he hasn't lost, but at what point do you just want to, he's like a certain coach. You reach a certain point, and then maybe, like, if you're a youth athlete, you get to a coach, and then you reach to a certain point where that coach just can't coach you anymore. You need a coach that's got more to give you.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tomlin at that right now?
He said all he can do. He's done all he can do.
You can get to a winning record, but can he get back to a Super Bowl and be Super Bowl champions. The thing is that has spoiled us over the years now has been Patriots and now the Chiefs. Because we want to be that now. That's like the new bar. You got to win multiple Super Bowls. You got to be a dynasty now.
Which is weird in the salary cap free agent. There will be no dynasties. Everyone's going to be in a. How do we end up with multiple dynasties?
Right. But isn't that's kind of the base now, isn't it, for our teams?
Which is
because we just saw the Patriots win 7 of them. We saw Tom Brady go to 10 freaking Super Bowls. Now we got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs potentially winning their 3rd in a row.
Chiefs
4th total.
They've been in every AFC Championship game since 2018.
Right. And that is now becoming, I think, for a lot of us, that's the new base. That's what we want. That's what we expect. It's not. It's not.
No, it's not given, especially given the structure of the NFL. It's really not fair. It's less fair than it was pre-93. So that I think Pittsburgh's too. I mean, I know Pittsburgh's made a little bit. They've been a little bit more progressive in how they change around stuff, move around stuff. But all in all, short of an embarrassment, and even then, I don't think it's enough. Tomlin would be safe. You know who might potentially be in trouble now that I look at the list? D'Amico Ryans.
After 2 years?
Yeah. Do you trust the Texans organization to be like, let's we're good.
I think if D'Amico Ryans got let go, there would be a lineup for him.
Also that, but especially given what we were talking about earlier and how much they love themselves some Josh McCown.
Oh yeah.
Like he would really, if anyone doesn't remember, Google Texans Josh McCown from a few years ago. And there was that controversy too of like, remember it was involved like the Rooney Rule, like, oh, come on. You're going to bypass like all these. This is back in the whole Eric Bieniemy side note. Talk about a stock falling. Remember when Eric Bieniemy was the go-to example of the really good black assistant coach who wasn't getting a job. And and now it's like, oh, what happened? It's one guy, but I would not have foreseen that happening, but maybe there was another reason he wasn't getting coaching jobs.
Well, you heard some players just kind of talk about how his personality.
Exactly.
You know.
So maybe there was a different reason in Bieniemy's case, but that it kind of came to fruition with the, oh my gosh, the Texans are going to hire a guy who just got done who's still a quarterback. What? Because the McNairs love Josh McCown. And I'm not saying that they're going to get rid of Ryans just because what I just said. It's not that issue. I think it's because they'd rather have someone like Josh McCown. If we're talking a month and a half from now, and the Texans are an underdog against the Chargers, I do believe. I haven't seen the line, but my understanding
last I saw, the Chargers were favored. Yeah.
Month and a half from now, would you be completely blown over if we're talking about, and then the Texans fired Ryans and they hired Josh McCown?
I would be, yes.
I wouldn't be entirely I don't think it's going to happen, but it's.
I mean, that situation was such a mess that to where D'Amico Ryans came in his first year, they were the brunt of the joke across the league to get into the postseason and such. 2 years in a row now. Yeah, I would be. And that's a former Texan too. It's not like he's got
that's true. So he does have that. I forgot about that. But they've trended so poorly of late. And I guess if they perform poorly in this game, understanding that they're going up against a really good Chargers team. So my answer is Ryans is the coach with the most on the line, understanding that I don't think any of them, Sirianni, any of them are going to get LaFleur. Definitely not. No, he's not getting fired because of how they do in Philadelphia. They're already going in injured. No, none of them are going to get fired. But
Todd
if I have
Bowles?
to rank them, I'm putting Ryans 1 and Sirianni 2.
You know the guy we haven't mentioned, Todd Bowles?
Yeah, it was on my radar too. I think I'd have him 3. You could make a case that he's 2. But I think they've got enough going with that team right now that I think he'll be safe for at least one more year. Yeah, they're all in good shape, I would say. So, yeah, I think the Ravens, there will be more Harbaugh questions, though. I mean, of course, there will be Lamar questions if they don't do well, but there should be Harbaugh questions, too.
Yeah, if the Steelers come in and beat Baltimore, there's going to be, I think, a lot of questions surrounding Baltimore. Do they got to make a move to get to that next level sort of
So
thing?
which of these three AFC teams has the most pressure to win a Super Bowl this year? One of them should be like, why? But the Chiefs, given how they performed this year despite the record, the Bills, like, is it finally going to happen? Or the Ravens, another good season with despite the record, one of the best teams in the NFL, but they can't win it with this particular group.
It is, to me, it's between Buffalo and Baltimore. Buffalo, in the essence that Josh Allen might win MVP this year. I think this is the best version we've seen of Josh Allen in his young career. So you got that going. He's like, okay, take advantage of it. But then you look at Baltimore, and Derrick Henry at some point is going to slow down, right? At some point, he's going to slow down.
He's a human being. It will happen.
So, I mean, if you don't get it done this year with Derrick Henry still running at a high level and Lamar Jackson, healthy and playing at an incredibly high level here too, I mean, that's a big bummer in itself that you couldn't take advantage of that either. It's between those two.
Yeah. On the other hand, the Ravens are, we're talking about regeneration teams. They seem to reimagine themselves a fair amount.
Not many teams can go from Joe Flacco, that style of quarterback, to Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
And just kind of continue to win some games.
Defensive juggernaut, offensive juggernaut. Which one are they? Like, they had one of the best offenses of recent all time this past year. And the Ravens historically have been a great defensive team. Lately, they've vacillated a lot more, but hey, guess what? They've also been a lot more competitive of late, too. They're figuring out ways to win. I trust that they will be able to move on from Derrick Henry when the time comes, which could be as early as next year, almost certainly within 2 years because, like, again, of the age. They'll figure something out. But at some point, they got to figure out a way to actually get to the Super Bowl, too.
So you mentioned good defenses and offenses. I mentioned this in the first hour. Kevin Cole, who used to be at Pro Football Focus, data scientist and that, he's got one of those graphs, those I don't know what you call them, but with the different four corners and teams in those corners.
Scatter plots?
Yeah.
I've seen a fair amount of those of late, yeah.
Schedule adjusted offensive and defensive team strengths heading into the playoffs. Two groups of tier teams. Elite offense with a decent defense. Ravens, Bills, Lions. Elite defense, good offense. Vikings, Eagles, Packers. When was the last time we said elite defense for the Packers?
It's been a few years. Elite. I mean, there's good and then there was elite. What's the best defense you've seen in the last 15 years of the Packers, not counting this year? Not that you would count this year, but what is the last that you've seen?
I mean, it's probably 2010, right?
Yeah.
Which, ironically, they finished in the same rankings of total defense and points allowed as 2010. 5th and 6th.
Weren't they? Oh, I've got the stats somewhere else, and now it's a lot of stuff is paywalled for DVOA stuff, so I got to be careful. I think they were the number 3 team in the league in 2010.
Oh, stop.
I'm serious. I think they were. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to come up with all these DVOA stats to torture you in the next few days. Like, here's another comparison to 2010.
We'll take a break.
Hey, this is good news. You want this?
No, because you're jinxing it, and I'm going to get my hopes up. So,
now that you mention it.
Yeah. All right, quick break. Picks and predicts coming up next.
You're listening to The Dan Casper Show.
Today is a peak energy alert day. Members of Chippewa Valley Electric, Eau Claire Energy, Dunn Energy, Jump River Electric, Jackson Electric, Riverland Energy, Taylor Electric, and Clark Electric cooperatives are asked to limit the use of items that are powered by electricity between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. The cost of electricity on the wholesale market is projected to be highest during these hours. Today is a peak alert day. Limit electric use between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. Your Touchstone Energy Partner Cooperatives thank you for helping keep energy affordable.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my community and those I care about safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Cars today are built to last, but how they look is up to you, and that's where Maaco comes in. They specialize in cosmetic repairs. Let's say it's affordable paint jobs to fixing those annoying dents and dings. Maybe your car's paint is faded, or you've been meaning to fix that scrape from the grocery store parking lot. Whatever it is, Mako has you covered. Now, here's the best part. Stop by your local Mako, free estimate, and you're going to find out how easy it is to refresh your ride. With more Americans keeping their cars longer, now's the time to protect your investment and keep it looking sharp for years. And you can do so with the great folks at Mako. At Mako, they are proud to be a trusted partner for drivers across the country. Whether it's a fresh coat of paint for your car or fixing up everyday dents and dings, Mako is here to keep your car looking its best. Get started, visit your local Mako today, get the free estimate, and see how easy it is to bring new life to your ride. Better get Mako.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Accomplishing goals is hard. But when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. Babbel is designed with you in mind. From expert-created lessons to conversational video units and even live classes, you can personalize your Babbel experience to be exactly what you need to really learn a new language more easily. Go ahead, set a goal for yourself. Accomplish it with Babbel. Try Babbel for free. Go to BABBEL.com. That's Babbel.com.
Sports Talk 105.1 is your home for the great outdoors. Outdoor reports, outdoor tidbits with the DNR, photos, and more. Visit our outdoor community at sportstalk1051.com.
Wrapping it up with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room located in Eau Claire. Wednesday night's trivia night. So looking to stay warm while watching maybe some hoops games and partake in trivia. Go on over to the Elbow Room. Got one college basketball game we're going to throw into this here. Texas A&M number 10 versus Oklahoma number 17. At Oklahoma. Oklahoma favored by 2.5. Who you got?
I will go with the Sooners.
I'll go with A&M. Got a couple good NBA games tonight. Oklahoma City Thunder at Cleveland.
Ooh, boy, yes, awesome one. I'll take the Cavs.
I'm going to go with the Cavs too in this one. Let's do Clippers at Denver.
Clippers actually having an okay season, all things considered. But I will take Denver.
I'm going to take Denver too. Clippers are actually favored in this one, 2.5 at Denver. So San Antonio at Milwaukee. Bucks favored by 5.5.
I will take the Milwaukee Bucks. Hesitating.
Well, you lose
Wemby versus Giannis.
You lose to Brooklyn twice. You lose to Portland.
I know they've had not a great track record lately, but
I don't like what they're doing here. I hope I'm trying to stay optimistic. I hope they're trying to take a page out of the Spurs from the early 2000s with Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, where they just coast through the regular season and turn it on in the playoffs. That's what my hope is. That's me being optimistic.
I think they play up to their competition. This one.
I'll go with the Bucks winning tonight, but I'm not confident. Okay. Not confident. What's your picks for the games for Thursday and Friday?
I'm going to be taking, let's see. So tomorrow's Penn State and Notre Dame.
Yep.
I'm taking the Nittany Lions.
Okay.
Sorry, Bob. Bob also not here to enjoy Penn State's run through the college football playoff. And by enjoy, I mean not at all enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got the Ohio State University.
So a traditional Big Ten matchup for the national championship.
Which, again, for those who are really old, like not traditional. But for those of us that are somewhat younger, yes, a traditional Big Ten matchup in the college football national championship. Penn State, Ohio State is my prediction.
Your playoff picks for the wild card weekend, really quick.
All right, here we go. So first off, Did it warm your heart to see the Texans back at 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon?
You know, Brandon and I made our playoff time picks. We nailed the Saturday ones. We nailed it.
So predictable.
Yep.
Wow. I'm taking the Chargers in that game. Take the Ravens Saturday night. I'll take the Bills over the Broncos. Come back to the Packers in a moment. I will take Washington. Tampa Bay is a tough one, but I'll take the Buccaneers. So then the Packers and the Vikings games.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles, I have advancing, and I will take the Vikings.
All right. Which means then you would advance to the Lions for the following week.
Yep. So as Dan Campbell, the prophet, from the coaches meeting the other night.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, there you go. Those are your picks here. So shot clock's going to cut us off in about 30 seconds. Again, reminder, if you're looking for maybe to catch some hoop action tonight, college hoops action, you can head on over to the Sun and Tag. You got women's basketball at home taking on number 4 Oshkosh. Number 4 ranked Oshkosh. So head on over there. Guys, if you're in the Menominee and you're a Stout fan, it's going to be women's are going to be home versus River Falls. Both the men's teams are on the road versus the same universities over there too. So, okay, yeah, shot clock's going to cut me off right now. Packers back at practice today. We'll see if anybody's coming back off the injury report to play. Fingers crossed. Maybe Evan Williams and Quay Walker. Have a good rest of your day. DP Danitz, they're up next. We'll do this again tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. Talk to you then.